Chapter 217. Master. I Ching was the first to notice Xin Ying's return. He wanted to come over but was held back by more than 10 country emperors. Xin Ying had been gone for a long time. Invincible sect's battle was getting more and more difficult. Although the disciples were not weak, the other side had too many people. Especially when the protective mountain array was broken, they had nowhere to retreat. If this went on for a long time, even immortals would get tired. Some of the disciples were even injured. Good heart. Lan Hua used demonic qi to protect a few low-level earth immortal disciples. He turned back and asked, "Why are you only back now? What exactly happened?" "Hey, are you okay?" Seeing that she did not respond, Lan Hua pushed her. "Why are you in a daze? What's wrong?" "What's wrong? What else could it be?" Lan Hua glared at her. "Can't you see? Help me." If this went on, these people would really attack the radish field at the back of the mountain. Xin Ying looked up. The sky was full of immortals, flashes of spells and all kinds of weapons. She frowned. This was really a little annoying. "For all under # she answered in a low voice. "Oh." Then she got up and picked up a sword that was stuck in the ground and pulled it out. "Good heart, go to the back of the mountain and fend off." Lan Hua was about to say that she should go to the back of the mountain to guard. After all, Lone Moon and the others were there and there was only one array. Before he finished speaking, he felt a weight on his shoulder. She pushed him away. "Excuse me." He lost his balance and was pushed to the ground. "What are you?" He was about to lose his temper when he saw Xin Ying suddenly step forward. She turned the sword in her hand and swung it forward forcefully. It was a very ordinary swing of the sword, but in an instant the sword transformed into a terrifying sword qi, as if it could split the heavens and split the earth. It swept towards the opposite side. There was a loud boom. A bottomless abyss appeared in the ground. The entire immortal realm seemed to have been split apart by a sword. The huge crack extended forward. The ground shook continuously. Even the sky was distorted, as if it would collapse at any moment. The immortals could not even maintain their flying swords. They fell to the ground. The whole place was silent. Therefore, everyone looked at the bottomless abyss at the foot of the invincible sect mountain in a daze, unable to react for a long time. What just happened? Sigma Q, P scram. A voice suddenly rang out. It wasn't loud, but it was especially obvious in the silence. The immortals felt a chill in their hearts. They couldn't help but shiver. All the meridians in their bodies felt like they were frozen. A sense of boundless fear instantly crept into everyone's heart. It was unknown who started it first, but they turned around and flew away on their swords. They did not even turn back to look at who the culprit was. In the next moment, it was as if a switch had been flipped on the immortals who had fallen all over the ground. They all began to fly their swords, burrow into the ground and summon clouds. They scrambled and scrambled to be the first to leave the invincible sect. In less than a quarter of an hour they had all left, leaving behind a ground full of dermic artifacts that had not been picked up in time. Thus, the Immortal Alliance's battle against the invincible sect came to an abrupt end just as they were about to win. Apart from the people of the invincible sect, no one knew what had happened. Even the immortals did not know why they had to escape. There was only one thought left in everyone's mind. If they didn't leave, they would die. A winky-faced the 10 Directions continent returned to its previous peace. However, there was suddenly an additional crack on the ground that spanned across the entire immortal realm. It was less than 3 feet wide but bottomless. If they were lucky, they could occasionally see the images of the 3 realms through the crack. Half a month later. "There's someone behind Hui Ling's back, and it could be the person who transmigrated us to this world?" Lone Moon was shocked and stood up immediately. "Yes." Xin Ying picked up the cup on the table and moved it to the side before nodding. "You're saying that we were dragged here by someone and not transmigrated here by accident?" Lone Moon looked at her in disbelief. "Yes." She continued to nod. Lone Moon glanced at the calm Xin Ying. "When did you know about this?" "I knew from the beginning." She crunched on her fruit. "From the beginning? Holy shit. Then why didn't you tell me?" "You didn't ask." "You wouldn't tell me if I didn't ask? Where was the trust between father and daughter?" "I thought you knew." "Which eye of yours saw that I knew? Who could guess such a thing so casually?" Xin Ying tilted her head. "Didn't you say about the plot?" "Huh." He was confused. What did she mean? "What does this have to do with the plot?" "The book you're reading." Xin Ying continued to eat her fruit leisurely. "Apart from the love scenes, although the process is completely different, aren't the people who appear and the final outcome similar?" Lone Moon thought about it carefully. Indeed, all the characters in the plot that he remembered had appeared. Be it the male and female leads I Ching, and the gate to the demonic realm had indeed appeared in the end. But, what has this got to do with me? I'm not a character in the plot. Precisely because you're not. What do you mean? They were not characters in the book in the first place. Shining sighed and put down the fruit that only had the core left. Father Nyo, you keep saying that this book belongs to your niece. Then do you remember which publishing house this book was published by? Who is the author? How much is it priced? Who would pay attention to this when reading a book? He retorted out of habit. Alright, even if you didn't pay attention, what about the cover? You should have seen the cover of this book, right? What style is it? Can you tell me more about it? Of course I know this, it's... Lone Moon stopped mid-sentence. The clear image in his mind suddenly became blurry. He really couldn't remember what the cover looked like. You can't remember? Why is that? Because you haven't even read this book, or this book wasn't your niece's in the first place. How is that possible? I clearly saw my niece holding it the entire summer vacation. Is that so? Shining continued. You dote on your niece a lot, don't you? Of course. Although he didn't know why she suddenly asked this, he still nodded habitually. I only have this niece. That's even stranger. Shining glanced at him. You're so rich and you dote on your niece. Yet you let her read a pirated book for the entire summer vacation. Pirated book? How can it be? Father Nyo. She interrupted him, patted his shoulder and said, pornographic articles cannot be published legally. Get rid of pornography and illegal publications. You have to understand it. I already said it wasn't pornographic. Alright, it was a little pornographic. Oh, so? Shining stood up and calmly exchanged the empty plate in front of her with the fruit in his hand. She continued, if you really saw such a book, the only possibility is that someone deliberately let you see it. Lone Moon frowned. You're saying that someone deliberately let me transmigrate into this book. You still think this is the world in the book? Lone Moon hesitated. Isn't it? Is it? Chapter 218. Isn't there a saying that a world exists in a flower? It was not strange for a book to have a world, was it? I don't know if a flower has a world, but it's alive. A book is just ink and fiber. Do you think these can give birth to life? She made so much sense that he was speechless. Even if there is a world in a book, it can only be a two-dimensional world. How can a three-dimensional person like you be pulled into it? Shining said as she nibbled on her fruit. Let's take a step back and say that this is really a world in a book. We are not erasers. Why should we change a plot that has already been printed? Lone Moon was stunned. His heart sank. You mean to say that someone in this world wrote this book and then deliberately summoned us into this world? But the plot in the book is about what happened after I transmigrated. Then isn't this a prophecy book? Shining finished. Shit. There were indeed spells that could predict the future. But would there be such a thing as a pornographic novel? But thinking about it, the reason why they could change the plot so easily was because the future was uncertain. Who is that bastard? Did you get anything from Huiling? No. Shining shook her head. She told him about Green Tea's disappearance in detail. Lone Moon's frown deepened. A worry that he had never felt before came over him. This feeling of being controlled by someone else was terrible. The key was that he had no idea who the other party was. Huiling died just like that? Yes. Then do you think Huiling knew? Shining was silent for a moment. She shook her head. I don't think so. Green Tea did not look like she was lying. She really did not know what she was asking. She was just a pawn that was being used without knowing it. Then why did the person behind the scenes want us to transmigrate into this world? The more Lone Moon thought about it, the bigger the mystery became. And that book. What was his purpose in writing this book and telling me about it? Shining frowned. A moment later she said in a low voice, maybe, to open that door? What door? The door to the demonic realm. Lone Moon's eyes widened in shock. He thought carefully about the plot in the book. The last battle was indeed at the gate of the demonic realm. But before the door was fully opened, it was sealed by I Ching. He had admired the I Ching in that plot from the very beginning. Of course that was before he became a chef. After knowing the plot, she tried her best to stop him from dying for sealing the gate to the demonic realm. If the book was purposely misleading him, then this should be the result that the author wanted to see. You're saying that the person who caused us to transmigrate is very likely someone from the devil realm? Shining nodded. That's why he instructed Huiling to go to the fringe realm. As long as Shining was not around, no one would be able to stop the demon realm from invading the immortal realm. It was just that the other party might not have expected that Shining could not be trapped in the plane of existence. Lone Moon hurriedly stood up and turned to instruct Yu Hong. Yu Hong, go and look for Lan Hua. Ask him to set up an array and go to the Emperor Ascension stage. Shining had given Little Black 3 days to bring away the demons hiding in the immortal world. Now that a month had passed, the gate should have disappeared. Let's see if the gate to the demonic realm. Before he could finish, the ground shook and a loud rumbling sound came from far away. Large amounts of immortal chi surged forward, sweeping through the entire main hall. Lone Moon's heart tightened. He had a bad feeling. He exchanged a look with Shining and hurried out of the main hall. The shaking did not stop. It was not just Invincible Sect. Everywhere else was shaking. It was as if the entire world had come to life. The front of the main hall was filled with disciples. Master. Even I Ching, who was cooking, rushed out. He was still holding a spatula in his hand. He turned to look at Shining, then turned to look into the distance, frowning deeply. Did you sense anything? Lone Moon asked hurriedly. I Ching was most sensitive to auras. I Ching raised his spatula and pointed into the distance. The immortal chi is surging over here. It's like it's being chased away by something. I don't know what it is. Chased away. Something fell down, Shining suddenly said. What? Lone Moon was shocked. What did dash before he finished speaking, a black fog-like object suddenly appeared. It flew towards Shining at an extremely fast speed. Shan, who's there? I Ching, who was standing beside Shining, swung his spatula at it. Ow! There was a scream. The whole black fog was slapped out and landed heavily on the stone floor in front of them. Holy shit! Chef, why did you hit me? This voice was... Lone Moon was stunned. He looked at the person who was crawling up from the ground. You're Lan Hua. Of course it's me. Who else here has demonic chi? He got up angrily and conjured a seal. Instantly, the demonic chi on his body disappeared and he returned to his human form. Why did you release demonic chi for no reason? Lone Moon rolled his eyes. Who could tell who you were with that black fog? You deserve to be beaten up. Who released it? I didn't want to either. Because, alright. He seemed to have remembered something important. He turned to look at Shining and looked her up and down. Good heart, are you alright? Are you missing an arm or a leg? Tell me quickly. Shining, I Ching frowned and slapped his unruly hand away with his spatula. Master is fine. What do you mean by that? You're really fine? His face was full of doubt. He frowned. Then why did I suddenly become a sky fiend? Sky fiend. Everyone was shocked. You broke through in your cultivation. That's right. He nodded. Just now, my cultivation suddenly increased and I became a sky fiend. I thought something happened to Goodheart. That's why I came to take a look. Logically speaking, he could only become a sky fiend if he got rid of his last trace of Goodheart. But just now, he and Radish were filling the hole in the back mountain. Suddenly he rose up. Did anything happen to you just now? The bad feeling in Lone Moon's heart was getting stronger and stronger. No. He shook his head. Suddenly, a lot of demonic chi appeared out of nowhere. I couldn't control it. Indeed, black chi slowly emerged from his body. It looked like he was going to turn into a black fog again. Demonic chi. Lone Moon's eyes widened. His heart sank. He turned to look at Shining and said in a low voice, Lan Hua, set up an array to send us to the Emperor Ascension stage. Hurry. Lan Hua hesitated. He did not understand what Lone Moon meant, but he still activated his demonic chi to cut through the void. Perhaps because of his breakthrough in cultivation, he set up the array very quickly. In a short while, a black crack appeared in front of them. Let's go. Lone Moon dove into it. The other three hurriedly followed. In an instant, the scene in front of them changed. They were in another world. The moment they stepped out of the crack, the four of them felt a familiar tremor. It was the same as what they felt in Invincible Sect. Only this time it was much stronger. In the next moment, they were stunned by the scene in front of them. They saw that the sky, which was originally filled with immortal chi, was now so thin that they could barely see it. The void behind the Emperor Ascension stage had suddenly turned black. It was as if the entire sky had been split into two. Half of it was black and the other half was pure white. Faintly they could see that in the darkness, there were strange rocks and lava everywhere. It was filled with black fog. It looked familiar. Xinying's eyes narrowed. That was... Chapter 219. The Demon Realm. Lan Hua exclaimed, his face full of confusion. As a demon he could naturally tell what was in front of him. Holy shit. Lonman's expression darkened. He wanted to curse out loud. The demon realm had actually appeared here. This was not just a gate to the demon realm. The entire demon realm had fallen down. It was directly connected to the immortal realm. The Emperor Ascension stage was originally at the edge of the heavens beyond heaven. Not far below it was the void. It was also the border of the immortal realm. Beyond that was the void. Now that the demon realm had appeared, it looked like it was directly connected to the immortal realm. No wonder there was such a huge commotion just now. The entire immortal realm shook for an hour without stopping. The immortal realm and demon realm were on the same level. Now that they were connected, it would be strange if there was no commotion. What's going on? I Ching frowned as he looked at the miraculous scene in front of him. Who would have the ability to pull the entire demon realm into the immortal realm? It looks like we can only ask the demon in question. Lonman's voice was cold. The four of them turned to stare at a certain figure on the Emperor Ascension stage. The Demon King's body trembled. He suppressed the urge to turn and run. He straightened his stiff body and knelt even more obediently. You did this? Lone Moon pointed at the demon realm that had suddenly appeared and the gate to the demon realm that had split open behind him. I'm innocent, exalted goddess. The Demon King broke out in cold sweat. Tears were about to fall. I don't know what happened either. I've already listened to you and brought all the devils back. But suddenly this gate split open and then, I'm here. He did not want to come to the ghost immortal realm. It was easy for him to be the Demon King. Who did he offend? Now that the demon realm and the immortal realm were in the same realm, there was not even a gate. Perhaps he would meet the exalted goddess as he walked. That was too scary. He felt that the entire demon realm was not good. You really didn't do it when the demon realm fell into the immortal realm? Lone Moon was suspicious. It really didn't. The Demon King shook his head furiously. He was no longer a demon with a goal. If I had that ability, I wouldn't have waited until now, right? Let's not talk about how much power was needed to connect the two worlds. Even if he could connect the two worlds, he would still choose the mortal world. Even if he was beaten to death, he would never choose the celestial world. Then who has the ability to do so? Shining suddenly asked. The Demon King froze for a moment, a confused look on his face. I don't know either. Opening the gate to the demon world is already very difficult, let alone connecting the two worlds. I have never seen anyone with such an ability. Unless... His eyes suddenly lit up as if he had thought of something. Someone from the God Realm. God Realm? Everyone was stunned. Yes. The Demon King immediately nodded and said excitedly, back then the immortal realm and God Realm were connected. It's just that they had a falling out after that. The celestial race broke the heavenly pillar and left behind a formation that separated the two worlds, forming a separate world. That's how they separated. The heavenly pillar. Lone Moon turned to look behind him. The dilapidated gate to the demon world stood in the middle of a pile of rubble. A thought flashed across his mind. Could it be that the demon world fell into the immortal realm because of the Emperor Ascension stage? He turned to look at the others. Indeed, they had thought of this as well. The fog that had been shrouding their hearts just now dissipated in an instant. Shining said that the person behind the scenes who allowed them to transmigrate was to open the gate to the demon world. But this could have been done by anyone. Why would he cross worlds to find them? What's more, when they were at Invincible Sect, the gate to the demon world opened once, but nothing like this happened. What's more, after Shining came out, the gate mysteriously disappeared. This time, although the gate to the demon world had been closed, it had been standing there all along. In other words, opening the gate was secondary. The most important thing was where to open it. Obviously, the Emperor Ascension stage was his ultimate goal. It was not just to open the gate. He wanted to use the isolation array on the heavenly pillar to pull the demon world over and merge it with the immortal realm. How do you know about the heavenly pillar? Lone Moon glanced at him. They had only found out about the Emperor Ascension stage and the heavenly pillar not long ago. As for the isolation array, they had never heard of it before. This is what the demonic book says. The Demon King turned his hand and immediately retrieved a black talisman. He handed it over. This is a history book written by the previous demon kings of my race. Everyone in the demon world knows about it. History book? The demon race had such a hobby. Lone Moon took the talisman and subconsciously tried to activate it with his immortal chi. However, he found that he could not move it. The corner of his mouth twitched. He had no choice but to hand it over to Lan Hua. Lan Hua transferred a bit of demonic chi into the talisman. In the next moment, rows of black words appeared in front of him. The words demonic book were written on the first row. The smaller words below clearly stated, Year 43,671 of the demonic calendar, I became a demon king. I decided to kill those bastards who laughed at me. Year 109,135 of the demonic calendar, I killed the previous demon king. From today onwards, I am your new demon king. Year 244,000 of the demonic calendar, I got bored being a demon king. I heard that there was an immortal world outside. I decided to go out and have some fun. Year 204,001 of the demonic calendar, the previous demon king was played to death by the divine race. I am the new demon king. Year **** of the demonic calendar, I went to the immortal world today and met Chui Hua. She's so beautiful. I want to marry the queen. I don't know how many years it has been in the demonic calendar. I heard that the perverts of the divine race fell out with the immortals. The heavenly pillar was broken. They even set up an isolation array. They deserved it. I told you not to let me see Chui Hua. I don't know how many years it has been in the demonic calendar. The demon world is sealed. I can't get out. My Chui Hua. Sob. I can't be bothered to count the years. For Chui Hua, I must open the gates to the demonic world. Chui Hua, wait for me. Demonic calendar, Shining, Lone Moon, I Ching, Lan Hua. This is called a freaking history book. This is basically a diary written by the previous generations of demon kings. Oh, it's the New Year Crossing diary. And what the hell is with this casual tone? As demon kings, this is only the level of education they have. Don't they feel embarrassed to be spreading it around the entire demon race? Learn more about the 9 years of compulsory education. And what the hell is that Chui Hua who appeared so many times? Could it be that the person who recorded the diary is the former demon king of Little Black who planted a lot of spies in the immortal world in order to open the gates to the demonic world? So the reason why the demonic world wanted to invade the immortal world was to make it easier for the former demon king to fall in love? Degree, what a scam. At that moment, everyone felt a sense of humiliation. Suddenly, they did not want to ask any questions about the mastermind at all. What was going on? This guy was definitely not the one who transmigrated them. He definitely wasn't. Otherwise, it would be too freaking embarrassing. Chapter 220. The demon realm suddenly merged with the immortal realm, causing panic in the entire immortal realm. The demons had always been the common enemy of the immortal realm. It could be said that the two realms were born to oppose each other. Once the commotion stopped that day, many immortals went to the Emperor Ascension stage to investigate. Perhaps because of Little Black's strict control, the demon realm was very quiet. No demons suddenly appeared, so there was no fighting yet. But this investigation scared the immortals out of their wits. This was not just opening a demonic gate. The entire demon race had moved next door to them. The demons had always been ferocious. There were 10 sky fiends in the demon realm. Sky fiends were equivalent to celestial emperors. Now that the immortal realm had lost 2 celestial emperors, the opponent had an even stronger demon king. If they really fought, the entire immortal realm would be wiped out. In an instant, all the immortals near the Emperor Ascension stage had moved away. Everyone was panicking. The immortal and demon war was about to break out. Only the celestial emperors in the heavens beyond heaven remained calm. What was the demon king? They had the exalted gods. 3. The moment the celestial emperors received the news, they all thought of Shining. Thus, the radishes that had finally returned to their bodies turned around and gathered at Invincible Sect. Seeing the row of radishes at the foot of the mountain. No, the celestial emperors, Loneman's face darkened. Damn it, this group of freeloaders, are they done yet? They had not even paid for their lodgings last time. Great, they even added Bai Ti to their list. Thus, he silently added another sum to the celestial emperor's loan book. Shining did not want to care about these radishes. She casually called Little Black over. Let them discuss their own affairs among themselves. Anyway, no one brought food for her. Perhaps it was because of Lan Hua, the demon, or because the demon king's obedient appearance on the Emperor Ascension stage left a deep impression on the celestial emperors. The friendly discussion between the two sides went surprisingly smoothly. The celestial emperors did not dislike the demon king much less fight over a disagreement. Everyone knew that this was not the situation of the immortal and divine realms. At that time, with the support of the heavenly pillar, the two realms were only separated by an upper and lower bunk, so they could still be independent. The demon world and the immortal world had already merged into one. It was equivalent to expanding from a 1.5-meter bed to a 2-meter bed. If they were separated, the entire thing would collapse. It was already a fact that the immortal world had become the same world of immortals and demons. Since there was no way to separate them, then they could only get along. Although the two realms were fused, there was a ready-made boundary. As long as one didn't deliberately cause trouble, there wouldn't be any major problems. The conflict between immortals and demons could not be avoided, so there was a need to set rules. The celestial emperors and demon kings discussed for a few days and finally settled on a treaty of peace and friendship between the immortal and demon realms. Basically, they would maintain the status quo before the fusion, where they would not invade or interfere with each other's internal affairs. In other words, they could do whatever they wanted in their own territory. Both sides had no objections to this. After discussing some details, the meeting was adjourned. The Demon King reported to Shining and then slipped away. The 8 Imperial Emperors, however, shamelessly stayed behind. What? Shining paused. Bo Ce River, what's that? Exalted Goddess. Chu Xian chuckled. He stepped forward and explained, Ziqin is a demon and Xen Han has already perished. The Bo Ce River are no longer protected by the Celestial Emperor. Naturally, someone has to take over. Then, with Exalted Goddess's cultivation level, you are naturally the best person to take charge of the two places. Moreover, the Bo Ce River are connected, it's just right. Also connected to the demon realm? Shining exposed him. Chu Xian, the Imperial Emperors, did she have to be so incisive? How were they supposed to continue with their conversation? Plus under us, Sect Master Shin? In the end, it was Qinggu who braced himself and said, we do have the idea of letting you deter the demons, but the Bo Ce Shui cannot be without an emperor for a long time. Otherwise there will be chaos after a long time. That place is close to the demon realm. It's hard to guarantee that the demon realm will not be involved. That's right, Exalted Goddess. Chu Xian nodded vigorously. Currently, there are no immortals in the immortal realm who have cultivated to the Celestial Emperor level. We really have no other choice, that's why we're here. I'm not going. Shining slumped onto the chair. She rejected him instantly. Being an official was so troublesome. Father Nyo forced her to water the plants as a sect master every day. Would the Celestial Emperor still have time to eat? No way. Chu Xian paused. Exalted Goddess, you don't have to say any more. She won't go. Lone Moon glanced at a certain sleepy foodie. What Celestial Emperor? In the end, all the work would still be pushed to him. We have enough people in Invincible Sect. If you really can't find anyone, why don't I recommend someone to you? Oh, of course it's Sun Shu. Without hesitation, he betrayed a certain someone for the second time. Didn't he become an immortal emperor recently? What's more, he's a sword immortal. In terms of cultivation, he's not weaker than the Celestial Emperor, right? Everyone thought about it carefully. That was true. Although there was a huge difference between an immortal emperor and a celestial emperor, sword cultivators were stronger than other cultivators. If he succeeded as celestial emperor, it would definitely convince the masses. But even if Sun Shu succeeded as celestial emperor, he could only take over one continent. Bai Ti reminded them. Sun Shu was only an immortal emperor after all. He could take over one continent, but if he took over the Bo Ce Shui at the same time, the immortals would definitely be unhappy. What about the other continent? Why are you looking at me? Lone Moon rolled his eyes. I've already helped you find one. Can't you guys decide the other one by drawing lots? The celestial emperors fell silent. Just as they were about to recommend a few more people, a loud rumble came from outside the hall. Large amounts of immortal chi surged and filled the entire hall. It was so thick that it almost solidified. Everyone was shocked. One by one they flew out of the hall. Only then did they realize that the sky had suddenly darkened. Thunderclouds filled the sky. The surrounding immortal chi was surging wildly towards the back of the hall. The oppressive pressure made even the celestial emperor's hearts palpitate. And in the center of the layers of immortal chi, I Ching held a plate of pastries in one hand and a rolling pin in the other. He stood in the center looking lost. I Ching, this is your heavenly tribulation. Lone Moon immediately guessed what was going on. How can this be? I Ching looked up at the sky. Only then did he react. In a flash, he appeared in front of everyone. He hurriedly handed the plate in his hand to Shining. Master, your osmanthus cake. Oh, thank you for your hard work. Shining took it. He immediately turned to look at Lone Moon. Father Nyo, got it? Wasn't it just cooking? Every time the heavenly tribulation came, he had to say this. How annoying. Lone Moon immediately waved his hand to chase him away. Hurry up and leave. The lightning is about to strike. It will strike the sect. I Ching nodded. He turned and rode his sword into the distance. He even forgot to put down the rolling pin in his hand. Indeed, in less than 5 minutes, a dazzling bolt of lightning descended from the sky. It struck directly in I Ching's direction. Even the ground shook. Young Emperor I Ching has actually ascended. Congratulations. The Celestial Emperor's eyes lit up. They exchanged glances. Young Emperor I Ching seems to be a sword immortal too. The corner of Lone Moon's mouth twitched. Damn it. He still couldn't avoid it. If he had known, he wouldn't have recommended Sun Shu. Young Emperor Lone Moon, it looks like the position of Celestial Emperor Sun Hai. Lone Moon's expression darkened. He pulled out the jade flute from his waist and said seriously, the Celestial Emperors are right. Since the candidates have been chosen, why don't we talk about something else? For example, the cost of your lodging in my invincible sect, water and electricity bills, the service fees for the disciples and so on. With that said, the flute in his hand shook and instantly turned into a white jade abacus. Damn it, you've created so much trouble for me. If I don't skin you alive, my surname isn't Nyo. The Celestial Emperors. Chapter 221. I Ching's heavenly tribulation came so suddenly that even he did not notice it. But too many things had happened in the past few years. Breaking the divine bell, fighting on the Emperor Ascension stage, and then the sect war. After fighting so many battles, even he could feel the opportunity to become an immortal emperor. It was normal for I Ching the cheat to be able to break through. But for some reason his lightning tribulation this time seemed to be extra long, and the lightning tribulation in the sky was louder than the one before. Every strike seemed to break through the sky. The heavenly tribulation should have been over in 4 to 5 days, but now it dragged on for half a month. Lone Moon looked at the lightning in the sky and had a bad feeling. After the thunder tribulation, there were 36 desolate lights. However, for some reason, the desolate fire, which should have been fiery red, had turned into a purple heavenly flame. The sky was covered in purple light, and it burned for 6 days and 6 nights. Lone Moon was shocked and silently complained about the cheat. Such a strong heavenly tribulation, and yet he did not use any defensive measures and just withstood it. A month later, the tribulation clouds in the sky finally dispersed, and I Ching returned. His Dharma robe was torn in several places, and his hair that used to be tied up was loose behind him. It was obviously messy and dispirited, but somehow harmonious. Especially the immortal chi around him was 10 times thicker than before, and just looking at him made one feel a faint pressure of a celestial emperor. Wait, celestial emperor pressure? Lone Moon. Son of AB*T. Shining. Ha. I'm ready to talk to you about life now, immediately, right now. Shining, I Ching. Understand, I Ching successfully became a celestial emperor and became the Bo-Si emperor. As the human resources director of Invincible Sect, Lone Moon changed his previous attitude of declining and immediately decided to move the whole sect to the heavens beyond heaven, so quickly that the other emperors doubted their ears. To this, Lone Moon rolled his eyes and made a lot of calculations. Nonsense, in the previous sect war, the palaces in the sect were almost destroyed and could not be repaired. Where would they sleep if they did not move? And the only valuable immortal herb in the back mountain had almost died because of Lan Hua's demonic energy array. Therefore, after the disciples were done packing up the storehouse, they only needed to collect the immortal vein in the back mountain. The speed at which they moved was unimaginably fast. In less than an hour, more than 200 disciples had already set off in a grandiose manner. To save trouble, Lone Moon asked Lan Hua to tear open the void and open the teleportation array directly to the Bo-Si Heavenly Palace, in the name of food expenses. Almost instantly, a large group of disciples appeared outside the Bo-Si Heavenly Palace. The immortal official who had just received the news of welcoming the new Celestial Emperor. Greetings, Celestial Emperor. The immortal official who was guarding the door was stunned for a moment before he reacted. He hurriedly cupped his fists and bowed to I Ching. The titular Celestial Emperor I Ching nodded nonchalantly. After all, he was only in charge of cooking. Lone Moon looked around and frowned. Where are the other immortal officials? Why are you the only one in the Elysium? During the month of I Ching's tribulation, he had crammed all the information about the Bo-Si Heavenly Palace. Normally, there would be at least 6 mystic immortal officials guarding the Heavenly Gate. 2 months ago, the Celestial Emperors had already announced I Ching's succession to the Bo-Si Celestial Emperor to the entire immortal realm, fearing that they would go back on their word. Just half an hour ago, he had also sent a message to the managing immortal official. No matter how fast they came, it was impossible that there would only be one person at the heavenly gate to welcome them. This. The immortal official's face paled. Something flashed across his eyes. He stuttered for a while but could not give a reason. Lonman's expression darkened. He released his young emperor's immortal pressure. Where is the managing immortal official in charge of the heavenly palace? The immortal official's face paled even more. His legs turned to jelly and he was about to speak when a smiling voice came from behind. The new celestial emperor has arrived. Pao Hui did not go out to welcome him. I hope the celestial emperor will not blame me. A person suddenly flew over from the right side of the heavenly gate. He had the cultivation of an exalted immortal and was dressed in the robes of an immortal official. He smiled kindly. He was clearly apologizing, but there was no hint of guilt in his tone. He bowed slightly towards I Ching and smiled even more brightly. I thought that the celestial emperor would need at least a month to arrive. I did not expect you to arrive so quickly. Pao Hui was not prepared in advance. I'm sorry. He apologized profusely and stepped aside warmly, acting like a host welcoming guests. I will bring the celestial emperor to the heavenly palace now. It was not just Lone Moon. Even I Ching frowned. But he could not tell what the problem was. You are the managing immortal official in charge of the heavenly palace? That's right. The person smiled even more kindly. Where are the others? This? Pao Hui looked like he was in a difficult position. He did not know where to start. After a while he sighed and said, Sai, you may not know this. Now that the demonic world has appeared and this place is close to it. We have just lost Celestial Emperor Zichen. The immortal officials are already panicking and do not dare to stay in the heavenly palace. The new Celestial Emperor came in a hurry. I can't gather them in such a short time. Is that so? Lone Moon scanned him from head to toe, and his eyes turned cold. This reason was really reasonable. The smile on Pao Hui's face froze. He subconsciously avoided Lone Moon's gaze and continued to lead the way. New Celestial Emperor, please? Lone Moon did not ask further. He nodded at I Ching and led the group towards the heavenly palace. After flying for less than half an hour, Pao Hui suddenly stopped. He pointed at the majestic palace hidden in the clouds and said, New Celestial Emperor, this is the main hall of the heavenly palace. Celestial Emperor Zichen used to discuss matters here. With that, he turned and flew towards the palace behind without waiting for the group to react. He did not look like he was bringing them in. A while later the same thing happened. New Celestial Emperor, this is the Purple Light Palace. It is where the emperors of the Bo Sea meet. It's a pity that the country emperors did not make it here in time. Please forgive us, Celestial Emperor. New Celestial Emperor, this is the Yushin Pavilion. It is where the heavenly palace plants immortal herbs. But the immortal official guarding the pavilion is not here today. We can't enter for now. When the Celestial Emperor is free you can come again. New Celestial Emperor, this is... Pao Hui led the group in a circle. It looked like he had visited every place, but he could find a reason to refuse to enter every place. Even a fool could tell that he was unhappy with I Ching, the new Celestial Emperor. Yet he had a smile on his face the whole time. He looked like he was thinking about them. It made them feel very frustrated. Yu Hong and the others wanted to refute him several times, but they were stopped by Lone Man's eyes. Until they reached the innermost side hall. This is the treasure-seeking tower. It is the treasure house of the Bo Sea. It is the most important place in the Bo Sea Heavenly Palace. All the immortal treasures of the immortal meridian are here. There is an array set up by Celestial Emperor Zichen. For the sake of the new Celestial Emperor's safety, it is better not to enter. With that said, he was about to turn and lead the group away. Lone Moon, who had been silent the whole way, suddenly stopped him. Fellow immortal, you are wrong. Lone Moon smiled. Since it is such an important place, the Celestial Emperor naturally cannot leave it alone. Don't you think so? With that said, he turned to the side. I Ching. The next moment, a white light appeared in I Ching's hand. An immortal sword appeared in his hand. Wait. Pao Hui's expression changed. He wanted to stop him but it was too late. I Ching raised his hand and waved. A ray of sword chi appeared and attacked the palace that was heavily surrounded by array formations. There was a loud bang. All the array formations broke in an instant. The door of the immortal palace opened with a crash. You. Pao Hui's face was full of disbelief. He did not expect that they would suddenly break the array after a disagreement. Immortal official. Lone Moon gave him a smile that was even brighter than before. He said word by word, "Along the way the immortals of the various palaces have either skipped work or failed to do their jobs. As the immortal in charge, since you cannot control the immortal officials, why don't you get someone else to do it? Yu Hong. Send the immortal officials out of the heavens beyond heaven." Yes. He had lived 2 lives. It had been a long time since someone gave him a knife to show his authority. Very good. This person from the Bo Si Immortal Palace has successfully attracted my attention. Chapter 222. Monarch. Pao Hui was shocked. He looked at I Ching in disbelief and could not help but take a step forward. "I have been an immortal steward of the heavenly palace for tens of thousands of years." Lone Moon laughed coldly and said, "You've been a steward immortal official for tens of thousands of years, yet you can't even control the immortals in the palace. Fellow immortal, you're really capable. It seems like there's no reason why Zichen became a demon." You. Pao Hui was exasperated. He had been the Celestial Emperor's immortal official for so many years. Even though he was only an exalted immortal, even the emperors of the various countries were extremely polite to him. This was the first time someone had made him speechless. Something flashed in his eyes. He took a deep breath and said mockingly, "This young lord is really funny. What right do you have to punish me? I am an immortal official of the heavenly palace. Only the Celestial Emperor can punish me. What's your identity? Those who don't know would think that you're the new emperor." He looked at I Ching provocatively and said, "Celestial Emperor, you haven't even said anything and he wants to expel me from the heavenly palace. Don't you think this arrangement is inappropriate?" His words were hinting at Lone Moon to overstep his authority and have wild ambitions. Moreover, ever since he entered the heavenly palace he had indeed been like that. No Celestial Emperor could tolerate anyone climbing over his head, except for invincible sect. No. I Ching replied instantly. What was wrong? Even the disciples nodded in bewilderment. Disciple 1, isn't Elder Lone Moon always the one in charge? Is there a problem? Disciple 2, that's right, Sect Master said that if we follow Elder Lone Moon we'll have food to eat. Elder I Ching is so busy cooking, just leave the rest to Elder Lone Moon. The third disciple, huh? So there was an Elder I Ching in the sect? I just found out. Number 4, what? Wasn't the Celestial Emperor Elder Lone Moon? I always thought it was him. The fifth disciple, nonsense, the sect leader is clearly the Imperial Emperor. Lone Moon, Pao Hui. +_+. Who the hell were these people? This was the position of the Celestial the Arch. Why did they all look as if it was only natural for a young lord to manage the Celestial Palace? Even the Celestial Emperor himself had an expression that said, "I still have things to do, and the position of Celestial Emperor can be taken by whoever wants it." Yu Hong, see you, send him out. Lone Moon pressed his forehead and scanned the group of troublemakers. Once again he waved his hand and instructed. Yes. This time the 2 of them did not hesitate. Siyu went forward and picked him up. She flew towards the entrance of the heavenly palace. Before Pao Hui could react, he was already thrown out of the divine gate. You too. He glared at the 2 people who flew back without looking back. After a while, he snorted coldly and swung his sleeves. He was waiting for them to beg him to return. Lone Moon scanned the disciples once more, then waved his hand and said, "All of you have heard clearly along the way. The division of labor was the same as before, and everyone went to find their own territory. If there are any problems, find Yu Hong to report them." Dismissed. Yes. Everyone answered in unison, and immediately scattered around excitedly to claim their own territories. I Ching immediately took out pots and pans. "Master, I took a look just now. The vast sun hall at the back is not bad. The lighting is good and it can be seen from the north to the south. It's also big enough to be a kitchen. It just needs to be remodeled. Good job." Shining nodded in agreement. "Let's go, let's find Boss Lan to make a stove. He's very professional. Then you might have to wait for a while." Lan Hua walked over slowly, carrying a huge flower pot in his hands. Radish was working hard to grow dandelions in it. "I promised Brother Radish that I would plant it in the immortal plant garden first. Chef, then let's go make some cold dishes first. That did not need a stove." "Yes, Master, no problem, Master." Lone Moon. King retard. Wait, vast sun hall? Could that be the first immortal palace at the entrance of the heavenly palace? They wanted to turn the first immortal palace at the entrance of the heavenly palace into a kitchen. "You two come back here." "Oh, greater than over equal to greater than over equal to. Oh, the entire Bo Si Heavenly Palace had hundreds of palaces and countless small immortal palaces. In the past, there were more than 1,000 immortal officials living in them. Lone Moon understood what Pao Hui was thinking. In the past, the heavenly emperors of Bo Si were all Bo Si immortals. As an immortal from Fengtsang continent, I Ching suddenly became the Bo Si heavenly emperor. He could be considered a person who came out of nowhere. As the steward of the entire heavenly palace, Pao Hui naturally had the highest authority apart from the heavenly emperor. The reason why he dared to provoke them was that all the immortals in the heavenly palace were now under his control. It was their first time here. It was not easy to take over such a huge heavenly palace, especially when the other party did not cooperate. The only one who could order everyone around was Pao Hui. So in the end it would definitely come back to him. When he brought everyone to visit the immortal palace previously, the so-called steward who happened to be absent was all arranged by him. He did this not because he wanted to openly oppose I Ching's ascension to the throne, but because he was mentally unbalanced and wanted to vent. This could be seen from the way he kept calling the new celestial emperor, but never called I Ching's Dao name. But it was understandable that he was unhappy, but that did not mean that they had to give in to him. Who was not a little princess? Why should they give in to his little temper? Lone Moon's thinking was very simple. Since you want to skip work, great. Then don't come anymore. Our invincible sect. No, our invincible heavenly palace is very busy. We have no time for your little temper. The other celestial emperors were indeed short of manpower, but the invincible sect was not. Weren't they uncontrollable? Then don't use them. Anyway, they wanted the palace, not the people. What if the place they were in charge of was sealed and they could not enter? Just break through and enter again. Anyway, body cultivators had more stamina. What if the immortal officials were not willing to hand over power? Just give them a beating. Anyway, they were invincible. What if the immortal officials went on strike? Just fire them. They were not familiar with them anyway. Keeping them would be a waste of immortal stones. Someone had to tell them who was the boss. As for not having immortal officials familiar with diplomatic work, what if they lost contact with other continents? They did not dare. They had all the stewards for pills, talismans, arrays, and artifact spirits. They could even produce their own. Whoever was in charge of the invincible sect in the past would still be in charge now. At most, the scale would be larger. So Lone Moon did not worry much. In less than half a month, the disciples had already taken over the entire immortal palace on their own accord. They were on the right track at an unimaginable speed. They even casually subdued some small immortal officials who went with the flow to do odd jobs. And Pao Hui, who had been confidently leading a group of high-ranking immortal officials who applied for leave and waiting for news of the new celestial emperor, not only did he not receive news of internal strife in the heavenly palace, he only received news of one immortal official after another being chased out of the heavenly palace. Until a month later, everyone could not take it anymore. They all went to the heavenly palace to find out more. Only to find that none of them could enter. The immortal officials guarding the gate were also replaced with immortals they did not know. They directly chased everyone out. They almost started fighting. Everyone looked at the gate in confusion, the words "Invincible Heavenly Palace." They could not react for a long time. Only then did they realize that things were out of their control. This new celestial emperor was different from what they had imagined. He really did not seem to be afraid of their threats at all. And they also received a shocking piece of news. Celestial Emperor I Ching of the Bo Si would be holding the sky-bearing grand ceremony in the invincible heavenly palace in 5 days. And they, who should have received the news first, only found out now. Manager Pao, what should we do? Everyone was really panicking. They did not even know about such a big thing. It looked like they were really excluded from the heavenly palace. Pao Hui's expression darkened. After a moment of silence, he gritted his teeth and said, "Let's go. Follow me to the various states of the Bo Si." Chapter 223. 4 days later, the day before the sky-bearing grand ceremony, Elder Lone Moon, a disciple, flew into the main hall and bowed with cupped fists. "The 15 country emperors of the Bo Si are here. They are quite early." He thought they would not come. Lone Moon raised his eyebrows. "Just make the arrangements. They are not here to celebrate the ascension. They said they have urgent matters to see Celestial Emperor I Ching." The disciple frowned and said awkwardly, "What matters do they have?" Lone Moon put down the schedule. "They said they are here for some cannon fodder?" Pao Hui. "All right. They said that the way they handled him previously was biased, so they came together to ask the celestial emperor to retract his order. The disciple himself was confused. I didn't expect this Pao Hui to be so capable. Lone Moon laughed coldly. He actually managed to persuade 15 country emperors to come together, but it was useless. Let's settle this. Where's Chef? Elder Chef. Celestial Emperor is cooking in the back hall. The disciple changed his words several times. Let Shining call him and tell him to handle it according to what we said before. Lone Moon waved his hand and continued to work on his abacus. Tomorrow was the day I Ching officially became the Celestial Emperor. All the radishes from all the continents would come. He was still waiting to collect his debts. He had no time to care about those hypocrites. Yes. The disciple immediately left and ran to find Shining excitedly. In the front hall of the main hall. Since the disciple left, the country emperors had already waited for 4 hours, but the Celestial Emperor did not appear. They could not help but feel even angrier. When they heard Pao Hui say that the new Celestial Emperor did not care about the immortals, they did not believe it. They came this time with the intention of testing the new Celestial Emperor. Now it seemed that he was indeed a little arrogant. In the past, no matter how busy Celestial Emperor Zichen was, he still cared about them. He had never made them wait for so long. He did not even serve them a cup of tea. Before meeting, the country emperors were already disgusted by the new Celestial Emperor. Although their cultivation was below the Celestial Emperor and they were dependent on the Bo Si. But the countries had always been independent. Even if a new Celestial Emperor had cultivation, it would be very difficult for him to intervene. Moreover, this was a special period. However, no one dared to leave in a huff. After waiting for another hour, they saw the disciple who had reported earlier return. He said that he was going to bring them to meet the God Monarch. After he was done, he turned around and flew into the distance looking like he was in a hurry. The country emperors exchanged glances and had no choice but to follow. However, he found that he was flying further and further away from the heavenly palace's territory. He came to a relatively remote celestial realm. Just as everyone was beginning to suspect that this disciple was up to no good, she stopped and pointed to the front. Che. Celestial Emperor is waiting for you inside. After saying that, he turned around and flew back, even more hurriedly than before. The country emperors were stunned. They looked at the floating rocks in front of them and saw a person standing on a huge rock in the middle. He was dressed in white and gave off celestial chi. He looked at the crowd coldly and frowned as if he was a bit unhappy. Even though he was trying to restrain it, everyone still felt an oppressive immortal pressure. Everyone's heart skipped a beat and they subconsciously took a step back. They naturally recognized this new emperor. He was the one who beat them up when they attacked Invincible Sect. Emperor I Ching, one of the country emperors, took a deep breath and stepped forward to greet him. However, he was interrupted by the person opposite him. Cut the crap. He grabbed something in his hand and pointed it at the crowd. Do it. After he finished speaking, he seemed to realize that something was wrong. He retracted his hand. A white light flashed and the item in his hand turned into an immortal sword. Sword chi filled the air. Everyone, What did he mean? Did he want to fight with them? They didn't want to fight. They just wanted to reason with him. And, wasn't he holding a spatula in his hand just now? It was definitely true. This was the second time they saw it. Was it too late to change now that they realized something was wrong? Straight face, wait. The country emperors shouted. We are here to reason with him. I Ching frowned impatiently. In an instant, he created a sky full of swords and pointed them at the crowd. He answered seriously, I'm being reasonable. Master said that having a strong fist was the most important thing. With that said, he rushed over without waiting for the people opposite him to react. 15 minutes later. The country emperors who fell into a pile. Pao Hui F***CKU? What happened to avoiding that person called Lone Moon and meeting the Celestial Emperor directly? The next day, the sky-bearing grand ceremony. As the continent closest to the demon realm, the Bo Si could only be described with one word in the eyes of the entire celestial realm: cold. Even though the demon realm was still peaceful and the Bo Si had a new celestial emperor, the immortals felt that it was useless. They were most likely forced to take the blame. One day this place would become the battlefield between the two realms. Not only the other continents, even the immortals in the Bo Si thought so. But what surprised the immortals was that on the day of this new celestial emperor's sky-bearing grand ceremony, all the other celestial emperors of the celestial realm were present. All of them had prepared lavish gifts. The gifts piled up on the immortal boats looked like they were going to empty out the other 9 celestial palaces. And the celestial emperors didn't just send people over. Instead, they all went to congratulate him personally. Even the emperors who had been beaten black and blue the day before were dumbfounded by this action. They naturally knew that this new celestial emperor was recommended by the other celestial emperors. They had seen his capabilities that day at Invincible Sect. That swordsmanship, that cultivation. Even though he was only a young emperor back then, it was already very shocking. Yesterday's battle made them completely lose the will to resist. The #1 sword immortal in the celestial realm? No. It wouldn't even be an exaggeration to call him the #1 celestial emperor in the celestial realm. But this didn't change the fact that they, like the other immortals, thought that he was just a scapegoat pushed by the other celestial emperors to temporarily stop the demon realm from invading the celestial realm. That was why they dared to look down on this new celestial emperor. But looking at the current situation, it seemed that the celestial emperors didn't mean that. And not only to celestial emperor I Ching, but even to the 200 over disciples he brought with him, they were extremely polite and tolerant. Unfamiliar with the terrain, no one to lead the way, no problem. They could just wait 2 or 3 days and treat it as cultivation. The immortal palace arranged for them was too small for them to stay in, no problem. They could squeeze and sleep on the floor. The journey was long and they were thirsty, no problem. They had water elemental immortals, they could do it themselves. The heavenly palace was understaffed, no problem. We brought a lot of people, don't stand on ceremony. So everyone realized that the people in the entire immortal palace were all immortal officials from other heavenly palaces, as if the one ascending to the throne today was their celestial emperor. Even, just in time, that chicken. Chicken is here. Chu Xian immediately went over. Little Red, what's the matter? The West Palace's array formation was broken by a disciple a few days ago. There's a big hole in the palace. I need to go and fix it, I'm too busy. No problem, leave it to me. With that said, she picked up a piece of wood beside her and flew away out of habit. The country emperors sitting together in the main hall. Were these really the high and mighty celestial emperors? Why were those disciples so familiar with ordering them around? And what was with that satisfied and excited expression, as if he had received some kind of reward? They must have opened their eyes in the wrong way. Chapter 224. The entire heavenly worship ceremony was a joyous and harmonious scene. The more the country emperors sat, the more confused they became. Most of the people who were busy outside were immortal officials from other continents, and from time to time, someone would come in and ask 1 or 2 celestial emperors for help. Slowly, only the country emperors who had nothing to do were left in the hall. For a moment, everyone was restless, feeling that something was not right. They looked at each other for a long time, sitting in this strange mood for a few hours before the ceremony finally began. Celestial Emperor I Ching finally came in. Behind him were the celestial emperors who had just gone out to help, as well as the young emperor called Lone Moon that Pao Hui mentioned. He seemed to be very familiar with the celestial emperors, and as he walked, he chatted happily with the celestial emperors beside him. Only when the celestial emperors returned to their seats did the country emperors heave a sigh of relief. For a moment, they did not look up to care about what they were saying, except for some congratulatory words. Only the young emperor called Lone Moon replied the whole time. Celestial Emperor I Ching did not say a single word. The strange thing was that this seemed very rude, but the celestial emperors did not feel that there was anything wrong with it, as if this was normal. The country emperors could not say anything. They touched the wounds on their bodies, feeling angry and worried. This new celestial emperor was obviously unmoved by force or persuasion. Their days in the future would not be so easy. Originally, when I Ching fought against the various continents' country emperors in the Invincible Sect, there would always be 1 or 2 who were unhappy with him. Taking advantage of this ceremony, they wanted to add oil to the fire and take the opportunity to vent their anger. But they did not expect that not only were all celestial emperors, their warm attitude was not like that of a celestial emperor, but more like that of a little immortal official from the Invincible Palace. Their hopes were dashed and they could not say anything, until it suddenly darkened outside. The heavenly palace, which was originally filled with immortal chi, suddenly had a gust of cold wind, and the next moment the sky darkened. A black aura came from the heavenly gate, and even the country emperors could not help but feel a chill in their hearts. This is demonic chi. One of the country emperors exclaimed, and the originally bustling hall fell silent. Everyone turned to look, and indeed, a large amount of demonic chi was flying over, and a disciple hurried in to report. Reporting to Sect Master, the Demon King and the 10 Sky Fiends have arrived. Demon King. The people in the hall all took a deep breath, and the 10 celestial emperors' faces changed. They looked nervously at the large area of devil chi outside. Even young Emperor Lone Moon, who had been smiling, frowned. A moment later, he waved his hand and said, "Let them in." Why was he here too? The Demon King had actually come. The various monarchs' expressions tightened at first, then their eyes lit up. Joy surged from the bottom of their hearts, and they instantly felt as though they had vented their frustrations. Heavenly Emperor succeeding the throne, the fiend race running over, this was clearly a demonstration of force. The Bo Si was near the demon realm, and it was a big day in the celestial realm. Now that the Demon King came personally, it would be strange if there was no conflict. So what if Emperor I Ching was on good terms with the other celestial emperors? No matter how powerful he was, he couldn't stop the entire demon world alone. At that time, it would be the country emperors like them who would be helping to protect the Bo Si. Not only did he not treat them well in front of the enemy, he even used them to establish his dominance. Let's see what he can do now. The country emperors instantly felt a sense of exultation. They looked forward to the new celestial emperor making a fool of himself, and regaining some of the face they had lost. They couldn't help but look at the 10 black figures walking out of the demonic chi at the door. They saw them walk quickly through the door, walk quickly into the hall, and then, they all knelt down in the hall. The country emperors? The celestial emperors? What the hell? For all. The little king of the demon realm leads the 10 sky fiends to greet the exalted goddess. The demon king cupped his fists and bowed deeply to the person in front of him 3 times. The sky fiends following behind him also bowed to the ground in unison, their attitude as respectful as it could be. "Hey, little black." Shining, who was busy nibbling on a fruit, raised her hand and greeted. "Do you want to sit?" She turned to look, only to find that there were no empty chairs beside her. "Thank you, exalted goddess. I'm fine, standing very fine." The demon king chuckled, then got up and stood to the side obediently. The 10 sky fiends behind him were also like quails, quickly standing behind him, not even daring to raise their heads. The atmosphere in the hall instantly became a little strange. The demon king standing seemed to have triggered some kind of punishment mechanism. So, the celestial emperors also stood up. Since the demon king had already stood up, in order to show that the immortal and demon realms were on good terms, they had to stand up as well. Then, the country emperors also stood up. Since the celestial emperors had already stood up, they had to stand up as well. Then, the congratulatory immortals stood up. Since the celestial emperors had already stood up, they had to stand up as well. For a moment, the entire hall was filled with people standing up, except for a certain person who had been sitting at the very top, nibbling on a fruit and never stopping. The entire hall reverberated with the sound of crunching, 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 chewing. 3 minutes later. Perhaps because the situation was too awkward, the demon king was afraid of dampening the exalted goddess's mood, so he spoke up. "We rushed over as soon as we received the news. I am here to congratulate the exalted goddess on becoming an emperor." The demon king smiled even more brightly, his face full of sincere praise. The exalted goddess really deserves this position. Under the leadership of the exalted goddess, the Bo Si will definitely become better and better. If there is anything in the future, the demon realm will be at the exalted goddess's disposal. We will go to... "I say, little black." Shining interrupted. "Little black is here. The one becoming the celestial emperor is not me." She pointed to the person beside her and said, "It's Chef. Little black, all the celestial emperors, all the country emperors." He didn't even know who the celestial emperor was, and he just came over to suck up to her. Was the demon realm so shameless? All the country emperors felt that this plot was a little surreal. Wait, all the country emperors looked confused. Who was the person sitting at the top? Wasn't the celestial emperor I Ching? When did she sit there? Why was I Ching standing behind her and looking so natural? Why did everyone in the hall turn a blind eye to her, as if there was no problem with this arrangement at all? The key was, why did they only realize now that the person sitting at the top was her and not I Ching? Congratulations, Celestial Emperor Chef, on inheriting the throne. Little Black changed his tone and immediately said, "The Celestial Emperor Chef really deserves this position. Under the leadership of the Celestial Emperor, the Bo Si will definitely become better and better. If there is anything in the future, the demon realm will be at the exalted goddess's disposal. We will go through fire and water without hesitation." Shening, I Ching, Celestial Emperors and Country Emperors, too shameless. This guy changed it at the last minute, right? Even the lines he said were exactly the same. And what celestial emperor chef? He didn't even know the other party's name. Are you sure the demon realm isn't here to be funny? All the country emperors faintly felt that there was a sound of something collapsing in their minds. Instantly, they felt that the great war between immortals and demons might never happen again. They should just go back and be honest immortals in the future. To hell with Pao Rui. It was all his fault. The entire heavenly consecration ceremony ended in an exceptionally harmonious atmosphere. Until they left, all the country emperors were confused. They didn't know if it was because of the crowd's attitude, but they didn't dare to show the slightest bit of dissatisfaction in front of I Ching. All of them tucked their tails between their legs and became immortals. The entire Bo Si was originally under the jurisdiction of the Celestial Emperor. They must be crazy to believe Pao Rui's words and think that the situation in Bo Si would be different now. Chapter 225. Late at night, back palace kitchen. Exalted Goddess, I found out what you asked me to investigate previously. The Demon King lowered his voice and said seriously. So fast. Lone Moon turned back in surprise. How is it? Young Emperor's guess was right. The former Demon King might really still be alive. The Demon King nodded. I sent 10 Sky Fiends to scout around the demon world. Indeed, many demons claimed to have seen his tracks. Lone Moon frowned. Ever since he saw that damn demonic book, he guessed that the person behind the scenes, even if it was not the former Demon King, was closely related to him. Where is he? I don't know yet. The Demon King shook his head. I only heard some rumors, but the location is very complicated. There is no accurate address at all. I also interrogated those demons who were hiding in the immortal world. According to them, the former Demon King has lost contact with them for hundreds of thousands of years. They don't even know that the Demon King of the demon world has changed. Even that Sky Fiend called Zichin. This was difficult. Lone Moon's frown deepened. If even Little Black could not find him, then the others would not be able to. Then how did you become the Demon King? Shining suddenly asked. The Demon King faltered. He did not understand why she asked that, but still answered honestly, I defeated the former Demon King, so naturally I am the new Demon King. He said with some pride. The demons were always simple and violent. Whoever was strong was the Demon King. Back then, I beat him up like a grandson. I thought he was dead. I didn't think that means you were the last person to see him. Shining said. The Demon King was stunned. Lone Moon's eyes brightened. He pulled Little Black over and asked, Where did you fight? Near the joyous melody abyss in the demon world, the Demon King replied. The Demon King replied, At that time our cultivation levels were equal, and we fought for 7 to 8 days. In the end, I used all my strength to disperse his demon spirit, and he fell into the joyous melody abyss. He shouldn't have survived. Could he be hiding there? Where is the joyous melody abyss? If he guessed correctly, the former Demon King had deliberately faked his death. The joyous melody abyss is in the easternmost part of the demon world. It's near the border. They had chosen to fight there because they were afraid of destroying the demon world. Let's go now and take a look there. All right. The Demon King nodded. Just as the two of them were about to leave the house, have a safe trip. A familiar voice sounded behind him. Lone Moon's footsteps faltered as he walked out of the door. His face darkened. He turned around and picked up a certain someone who was still slumped on the chair. You go too. But Master, and you? He turned to look at a certain someone who was holding a plate of flavored prawns. I Ching. Master hasn't even eaten supper yet? Shining. Damn it, if she had known earlier she wouldn't have said anything. Little Black. This young Lord Lone Moon seemed to be even more powerful than Exalted Goddess. He had one more thigh to cling to. 3 days later, in the demon world's joyous Lulin Abyss. The reason why the joyous Melody Valley was called this was because there were many narrow valleys there, especially one that was so deep that one could not see the bottom. It would take 4 to 6 hours to reach the bottom of the valley. Moreover, there was a strong wind in the valley. Every time the wind blew, the entire valley would resound with all kinds of echoes. It was like a piece of music reverberating in the valley, hence the name, Joyful Melody Valley. This was the border of the demon realm. Further east was the land of nothingness. The demonic chi here was thin and it was a barren land. There were no signs of human habitation within a radius of 1,000 miles. There had never been any demons who set foot here. Back then, the Demon King thought that the former Demon King Zhan Ting was dead because he had destroyed his demon spirit and knocked him into the deepest valley. But from the looks of it now, this is what you meant by uninhabited? The corner of Lone Moon's mouth twitched. He pointed at the demonic city in front of them, which was even larger than the invincible palace. Uninhabited my A**s. Wasn't there a freaking demonic city at the bottom of this valley? These densely packed figures, if they weren't demons, could they be immortals? The Demon King was also confused. He didn't know that there was such a huge demonic city at the bottom of this valley. I don't know what's going on either. The Demon King stared at the demonic city in front of him. His legs turned to jelly as he hurriedly hugged Xinying's thigh. Exalted Goddess, listen to my explanation. If I really knew, I wouldn't have brought you here. All right. Lone Moon sighed. Look at how useless he was. Did he become the Demon King by acting cute? Let's go into the city and take a look. It looks like that Zhan Ting is most likely in this city. Wait. Seeing that they were about to enter the city, the Demon King hurriedly took out a few black talismans. Exalted Goddess, these are the demon gathering talismans that I prepared. They can gather demonic chi around your body. This way, other people won't be able to see the immortal chi on your body. When immortals entered the demonic city, they were like lighted lamps. Any demon would be able to see through them at one glance. If that Zhan Ting was really in the city, it would be easy to alert the enemy. Thank you. The three of them took the talismans and Lone Moon immediately stuck them on his body. Indeed, very quickly, like the Demon King, his body was instantly surrounded by some black demonic chi. Xinying looked at it curiously and imitated the two of them, slapping the talismans on her chest. In the next moment, wisps of black chi seemed to be attracted by something and gathered over. The strange thing was that the demonic chi didn't surround her body tightly like Lone Moon and I Ching. Instead, it stopped 1 meter away from Xinying. As if it was afraid of something, it didn't dare to move forward and could only circle around 1 meter away from her. In a short while, it wrapped her up into a 1 meter radius, black egg. It's done. Xinying looked up. Done my ass. The corner of Lone Moon's mouth twitched. This was even more freaking obvious than before when there was no demonic chi. Are you blind? Where exactly did you see that it's done? So troublesome. Xinying sighed. How about, Little Black, give me another talisman? All right. The Demon King immediately handed over another talisman. Without hesitation, Xinying directly slapped it on her chest. Then, the egg became even bigger. I Ching, Lone Moon, Little Black, what the hell? Why didn't even the demonic chi dare to go near Xinying? Were all things in the demonic world so cowardly? Lone Moon took a deep breath before going forward and pulling off the 2 talismans on Xinying's chest. The demonic chi egg disappeared instantly. You don't have to stick it on anymore. Anyway, with her little presence, it would be difficult for others to find her. Also, after we enter the city, we'll find a place to rest. You and Chef stay there and don't move. Wait for us to come back, alright? Oh, where are you guys going? What else? A ball of anger surged in Lone Moon's chest. Aren't we here to find the whereabouts of the former Demon King Zhan Ting? Of course we're going to find out. Oh, is that useful? We have to try even if it's useless. Do you think Zhan Ting is a pie that will fall from the sky if we don't look for him? Thump. Before he could finish, a figure suddenly fell from the sky and landed at the feet of the 4 of them. Instantly, a 1 meter deep human-shaped hole was formed. A man in black was lying in the hole, his entire body twitching. He turned around and revealed a handsome face. Zhan Ting. Little Black exclaimed. Yo. The Demon King really fell from the sky. Lone Moon, I Ching. Chapter 226. Law. Help me. Zhan Ting reached out a trembling hand from the bottom of the pit. The 4 of them looked at each other. Little Black then took a step forward and reached out to drag him out from the bottom of the pit. Then he tied him up tightly. What are you trying to do? Zhan Ting was tied up like a dumpling. Only then did he realize that something was wrong. He glared at them. Who are you? I'm warning you, let me go now or you'll suffer. Zhan Ting, you're indeed still alive. Little Black glanced at him. Not only that, his cultivation level did not decrease by much. You. Zhan Ting glanced at him. Then his eyes widened. Lien, what are you doing here? His expression turned cold and he said warily, I've already given you the position of Demon King. What else do you want? Pui. Little Black glared at him. I clearly won the position of Demon King with my own abilities. Who wants you to give it to me? Then why did you tie me up? I'm just an ordinary demon living in seclusion in the joyful Melody Valley. I'm not a threat to you. Don't worry, I won't do anything to you. It's just that the Exalted Goddess wants to ask you a few questions about the past. he said seriously. You better answer honestly. Exalted goddess? Zhang Ting was stunned. Then he looked at the others. What questions? It's about the time you wanted to send people to open the gates of the demon realm. Lone Moon took a step forward and said in a low voice. Zhang Ting frowned. Then he nodded and said, All right, I have nothing to hide anyway. Ask whatever you want to know. But I have something urgent to attend to now. You have to let me go back first. The few of them were silent for a while. They turned to look at the demon city not far away and hesitated. Don't worry. Zhang Ting rolled his eyes. I won't escape. The demons in the city have no fighting spirit. They won't be able to hurt you. Everyone looked at each other. Little Black then untied him and cast a spell to prevent him from escaping. Then they followed him into the city. After the few of them entered the city, they finally understood why Zhang Ting said that the demons in the city would not be able to hurt them. Because they were weak, they were simply too weak. Along the way, the devils they met on the streets were all ordinary little devils. The highest cultivation was only at the 4th or 5th rank, not to mention the Sky Devil level. Even a Shen immortal would be able to wipe them out, let alone the fact that the weakest among them was a young lord. Everyone was a little surprised. They didn't expect that such a large demon city would be filled with low-level demons. Zhang Ting walked very quickly as if he was really in a hurry to do something. As he walked, he urged them, Aya, you guys should walk faster. It'll be too late if you're late. The few of them were dumbfounded. They followed him all the way to a tall palace hall before stopping. Unlike the black buildings in the city, this palace was actually white. Zhang Ting seemed to be extremely familiar with this place as he led the few of them into the back door. Straight face, after passing through a backyard filled with all kinds of unknown flowers and a clear pond, he finally arrived in front of a small building at the back. The small building was very exquisite. The building was filled with white muslin, and wisps of white aura swept past from time to time. This is... Lone Moon was shocked. He looked at the aura around him in disbelief. Yes, immortal chi. I Ching nodded. There was actually immortal chi in the demon city. Before they could be shocked, Zhang Ting walked forward quickly and stopped in front of the small building. Then, without any hesitation, he knelt in front of the door and shouted loudly. Wife, your husband was wrong. I shouldn't have disobeyed you and wandered around instead of cultivating. I shouldn't have fought with little demons and bullied the weak. I shouldn't have ignored my duties and only wanted to stay in your house. I shouldn't have wanted to kill the little demon next door just because he looked at you. I'm really wrong, I won't dare to do it again. On account that I've knelt outside for 3 days, can you let me in? Shining, I Ching, Lone Moon, Little Black. What the hell? It turned out that he had rushed back in such a hurry just to apologize to his wife. Wife. Zhang Ting was already scratching the door anxiously. He howled loudly and his words were numbing. I haven't seen you for 3 days, my heart is breaking. It's all my fault. Just let me in, okay? I promise I won't do it again, just come out and see me, alright? Before he finished speaking, a gust of immortal chi suddenly came from inside the house. It controlled the white muslin downstairs and whipped it towards Zhang Ting. With a loud slap, he was sent flying back into the courtyard and even rolled twice. A clear palm print appeared on his originally handsome face. Zhang Ting was not angry. Instead, his eyes lit up as if he had received a great reward. He climbed up excitedly and pounced towards the door. Wife, you're finally willing to care about me. I knew that you still care about me. As long as you can forgive me, feel free to hit me. With that said, he raised the other half of his face and moved closer. Everyone. King retard. Instantly, they understood who the person in the house was and why there was immortal chi here. 2 words appeared in their minds, Chui Hua. Is there anyone else? A cold female voice suddenly came from inside the house. Zhang Ting was stunned. As if he just remembered that there were people following behind him, he turned and glared at them before answering, It's just some people who are unwilling to give up. What? Just as he was about to explain, the door creaked open. In an instant, an immortal aura that was even denser than before flowed out from the inside. A figure slowly walked out. She was dressed in white, and her hair was as black as ink. Her expression was a little cold, but her beauty was astonishing. Like an orchid in an empty valley, she gave people an inexplicable sense of holiness. She seemed to be the most perfect masterpiece of the heavens, no one could find a single flaw. The 4 people present were all stunned. They had seen many beauties before, but it was the first time they had seen someone so beautiful. Even Shining, who was a woman, was shocked. Wife. Zhang Ting instantly stuck towards the person inside the house like a soft worm. However, when he was swept by the other party's cold gaze, he froze on the spot and looked aggrieved. I said, "Don't appear in front of me again." The woman's brows furrowed slightly. "Wife, I was really wrong." Zhang Ting looked like he was about to cry. "Please forgive me. I promise to listen to you in the future. I will definitely not pester you in the morning. I will stop as many times as you want me to." Before he could finish speaking, the woman's expression darkened. She waved her hand and conjured a wind spell, sweeping him up and throwing him out. Zhang Ting instantly turned into a black dot in the sky and disappeared in the courtyard. Shining, I Ching, Lone Moon, Little Black, did they just hear some sexual content? Chapter 227. You're from the immortal world? The woman looked at the crowd in surprise. She frowned and asked worriedly, "Why did you come to the demon realm?" The few of them were stunned for a moment. They did not expect that she would be able to see through their identity at a glance. Immediately, they turned their heads to look at her. What kind of lousy talisman was this? Little Black. What does this have to do with me? I don't know how she could tell. You don't have to be nervous. I mean you no harm. As if sensing their concerns, the woman explained, I just didn't expect that there would be other immortals in the demon realm other than myself. She made a hand seal as though she was dispelling some sort of technique. In an instant, the immortal chi around her body became even denser, as though it was about to materialize. Heavenly the Arch. Lone Moon exclaimed. He did not expect that she would actually have Celestial Emperor cultivation. No wonder she could see through their identities. Perhaps you have heard of me. She sighed and gave them a kind smile. She said in a low voice, I am Zhuohua, the Bo Si Celestial Emperor. I Ching, Shining, Little Black, Bo? Si. The corner of Lone Moon's mouth twitched. He pointed to Chef beside him and said, what a coincidence, he's also the Bo Si Celestial Emperor. Also, what happened to Cui Hua? How did it become Zhuohua? Was Zhan Ting illiterate? Zhuohua was shocked. She didn't react until Lone Moon and I Ching took off the talismans in front of their chests. She sighed. After leaving the immortal realm for so many years, I didn't expect the Bo Si to have a new Celestial Emperor. Not only that, but it had been changed twice. Celestial Emperor Zhuohua. Lone Moon stepped forward. Why are you in the demon realm? Could it be Zhan Ting? Well, not all of them. She frowned as if she was unwilling to go into details. She invited them to sit at the side before she slowly said, how did you enter the demon world? The demon realm has long been sealed, so it should be impossible for immortals to reach it. The few of them fell silent for a moment. Lone Moon then said in a low voice, don't you know that the immortal realm and the demonic realm have merged into one? What? Zhuohua was shocked. She stood up abruptly and clenched her fists. How could this happen? As expected, the demon race is not worthy of trust. Back then, it was to stop the invasion of the demon world. Who would have thought that the current demon king is also a wolf with wild ambitions? It will definitely trigger a war between the two worlds. Just as she finished speaking, Xiao Hei's legs went soft and he almost fell off the chair. Hey, don't talk nonsense. How am I a wolf with wild ambitions? I didn't do anything, okay? Damn it. What if the exalted goddess misunderstood? He turned around and hugged Xin Ying's thigh. Exalted goddess, the merger of the two realms has nothing to do with me. You have to believe me. Get lost. His snot was all over his legs. You're the demon king. Zhuohua was shocked. Only now did she recognize Xiao Hei. That's right, I'm the demon king Xiao Hei, the embodiment of love and justice. My greatest interest in life is peace, the kind that is pure and kind. If anyone dares to start a war between immortals and demons, I will fight them. Exalted goddess, please look at my pure eyes. Lollipop, Lone Moon, I Ching, you're a demon king, can't you have some integrity? This is so embarrassing. I really want to pretend that I don't know this fellow. Zhuohua. Isn't the new demon king called Liyin? Did he change it too? Cough that. Lone Moon coughed and kicked the demon king to the side. Don't worry, the immortal and demon realms have already reconciled. There won't be a war between the two realms. As long as Shining was around, traveling between the immortal and demon realms would be as easy as traveling in a mirror. How can it be? She was shocked and did not look like she had recovered from her shock. The immortals and demons had been at odds for a long time. Both sides had always been at each other's throats. She did not expect that there would be a day when they would reconcile. Celestial Emperor Zhuohua, we're here this time because of the gate to the demonic realm. We have some questions to ask the former demon king Zhan Ting. Lone Moon hesitated for a moment, but still told her their purpose. The gate to the demonic realm? Zhuohua frowned. Lone Moon thought that she would not agree easily. After all, her staying in the demon realm must have something to do with Zhan Ting. He thought for a moment and added, "We feel that the merging of the immortal and demon realms this time has something to do with the gate to the demonic realm that Zhan Ting left in the immortal realm, so." All right. Surprisingly, she agreed immediately. She turned to look at the door and said coldly, "Get in here." "All right, I'm coming." Zhan Ting instantly flashed in from outside the door and smiled brightly. "Madam, you're finally willing to see me. I knew that your heart is still aching." "Shut up." Zhan Ting immediately turned into an aggrieved quail. Zhuohua seemed to be too lazy to care about him. She turned to look at them. "Please ask whatever you want." With that said, she glared at Zhan Ting. "Answer them properly." "All right, madam, no problem, madam." Zhan Ting immediately stood up straight. He was as obedient as he could be. He turned to look at them, but his expression changed instantly. He returned to his domineering demon king appearance. It was a seamless change. "What is it?" "Ask quickly, I'm busy." Everyone, the demon realm was indeed a place without integrity. Lone Moon was the first to react. He asked in a low voice, "We want to know that the gates to the demon realm were created by you. How did you know that opening the gates at the Emperor Ascension stage would cause the two realms to merge? And the one who pulled Shining and I into this world, was it you?" "What Emperor Ascension stage? The merging of the two realms?" Zhan Ting looked confused. "The gates to the demon realm were indeed created by me. When the demon realm was sealed, Cui Hua and I were separated by two realms. That was why I took advantage of the loosening of the seal to send the demons under me to the immortal realm and set up the gates to the demon realm at a specific location in the Bo Sea." Bo Sea? Lone Moon was shocked. He suddenly had a bad feeling. Could it be, that's right? Zhan Ting nodded and said with some pride, "Cui Hua was the celestial emperor of the Bo Sea at that time. Of course the gates had to be set up there. That gate was actually just a special teleportation array, and it had to be assembled to be useful. That was why once the gates were set up, I activated the array and brought her over, ha ha ha." Holy shit. Indeed, this outcome was not surprising at all. What was going on? Then why did the demons you sent all think that the gates to the demon realm were a passageway that connected the two realms? Otherwise, Zichen would not have tried so hard to open the gates. "Oh, that was because I lied to them." Zhan Ting answered calmly. If he did not make a big fuss, who would be willing to help him find a wife in the immortal realm? Actually, that gate could not be opened at all. Everyone. Damn it, he was too shameless. So the so-called plan to invade the immortal realm was just a scam to find a wife? Suddenly, they wanted to light a candle for the demons who had been hiding in the immortal realm for so many years just to open the gates to the demon realm. Such a henpecked man could not be the mastermind, definitely. Back then, I was indeed teleported to this realm by the demonic gate. Zhuohua stepped forward and explained. That gate had a disguise spell on it, but it was really just a teleportation array. And after it was teleported once, it should have lost its effect. Lone Moon fell silent, his frown deepening. They had seen the gates to the demon realm twice. That was clearly a passageway that connected the two realms, and then it directly merged the two realms. But there was no need for Zhan Ting to lie to them. If the gates to the demon realm were really just a teleportation array, then something must have happened along the way. But who could have tampered with the gates to the demon realm? And these demonic gates were only set up in the Bo Sea, but the first time they saw them, they were at Feng Tsang's invincible sect. They kept feeling that this matter was getting more and more complicated. All the clues from before came to an abrupt end here. For a moment, everyone was silent. "Chef, do you have a pen and paper?" Shining suddenly spoke. "This." I Ching faltered. After a while, he took out a piece of white cloth and a bowl of black liquid. "Master, will brocade and soy sauce do?" "He only brought these." "Will do." She took them and placed them on the table. "What are you doing?" Lone Moon asked curiously. Shining did not answer. I Ching had already conjured a brush and passed it over. Only then did she start drawing on the brocade. After a while, she put down the brush and pointed to the pattern on it. "Have you seen this before?" Everyone looked down and saw a crooked pendant drawn on the white cloth. It looked like a jade pendant. The style was also very ordinary, but there was a strange pattern drawn in the center of the jade. Zhan Ting's eyes widened. "This pattern is..." Chapter 228. God-Fiend Seal. Little Black exclaimed before Jean Ting could finish his sentence. What God-Fiend Seal? Lone Moon frowned and asked anxiously. The God-Fiend Seal is the contract seal of my race. Little Black explained, this seal will only appear when one swears on his own demon spirit and makes a contract with the demon Tao. Just like an immortal's heavenly Tao oath, once it is made, the contract will be protected by the God-Fiend and must be completed. Otherwise, this seal will make the person who made the contract pay a greater price. But the God-Fiend contract cannot be made unless one is a Sky Fiend or above, otherwise the God-Fiend will not respond. Contract? Lone Moon looked at the picture on the jade pendant carefully. Shining, where did you see this picture? Wait. This jade pendant can't be the one Hui Ling wore on her neck back then, right? Yes. Shining nodded. Shit. It was true. You think? The person who gave Hui Ling this jade pendant made a God-Fiend contract with her, that's why he could pull you into the middle realm? It's not a contract. Shining tilted her head and said, it's the person himself. What do you mean? He did not react for a moment. What Ben? God-Fiend. You're saying that this jade pendant was given to Hui Ling by the God-Fiend? He stood up abruptly and looked at Shining in shock. The rest of the people present were also shocked. Yes. Shining nodded calmly and turned to look at I Ching. Did you bring fruits? She felt that something was missing. Yes. I Ching reflexively took out his storage bag. That's impossible. Little Black shook his head forcefully. Exalted Goddess, the God-Fiend is the ancestor of my race. The demon world and the entire demon race were created by him. He is in existence like the heavenly Tao or even the god of creation. He has always appeared in legends, no one knows if he really exists. Even if he exists, why would he give such a jade pendant to an immortal cultivator instead of a citizen of the demon race? There was no point in doing this. No, it's possible. I Ching looked up at them. For the two realms to merge. Everyone was stunned and reacted instantly. If there really was a demon god in this world, then there was indeed the divine power to merge the two worlds. Naturally, it was also possible for him and Shining to transmigrate to this world. I Ching and Lone Moon thought even deeper. Back then, Hui Ling had used this jade pendant to pull Shining into the middle realm. By right, it was not that easy to cross the realm gate. It would have been fine if they had entered the mortal realm. If one were to enter a higher realm like the god world, it would be very difficult to enter unless one ascended. Not to mention the fringe realm that he had never heard of. Perhaps only the demonic god had this ability. Moreover, Xinying's power could not be understood by those who had not personally witnessed it. Shining was the only one in the entire immortal realm who could stop the merging of the immortal and demonic realms. Locking her up in the underworld was the best solution. Even if she couldn't be trapped, she could at least buy some time. In fact, although Hui Ling's actions were stupid, it did divert their attention. Even after repelling the enemy, they were only focused on getting the celestial emperors to return to their bodies from the radishes, and did not pay attention to the situation at the gate to the demonic realm. You mean, the demonic god merged the immortal and demonic realms? Zhuohua, who finally understood what was going on, frowned and turned to look at Jean Ting. Then where is this demonic god now? The two demon kings were stunned. After a while, Jean Ting said with a fawning expression, Madam, just as Li Yin said, the existence of the demonic god is just a legend. No one knows if it's real or not. No one has ever seen the real demonic god, so no one can find him. Then let him come find us. Shining suddenly said. Everyone was stunned and turned to look at her in confusion. What did she mean? Does Exalted Goddess have a way? Little Black's eyes lit up and he started to flatter her out of habit. You are indeed the Exalted Goddess. You are so wise, brave and omnipotent. Then how can we let the demonic god come find us? Shining finished the fruit in her hand in a few bites and turned to look at Little Black. She suddenly grinned at him, revealing a kind expression that she had never shown before. Little Black shivered for no reason and all the hairs on his body stood on end. Little Black. Yes. The weather is pretty good today. Why don't you make a vow for fun? The kind that requires the demonic god seal. Sigma Q. P. Was he deaf? 6 hours later. Exalted Goddess, do I really have to make a vow? Yes. Shining nodded. Exalted Goddess, making a vow with a demonic spirit is a very important matter. We need to consider it carefully. Why don't we change it to another day? Exalted Goddess, why don't we change the content of the vow? I am a demon king after all. This is my first time making a vow with a demonic spirit. I should at least make a great vow to help Exalted Goddess unify the three realms. Not interested. Exalted Goddess, why don't you unify the demon world for fun? The demon world is especially fun. I'm not playing. Exalted Goddess, Zhan Ting is also a demon king. What's more, he has been a demon king for longer than me. The effect of making a vow is better. Why don't we change it to him? Not familiar. Exalted Goddess, shut up and go. All right. A certain demon king finally gave up and lowered his head. With a bitter expression, he walked to the center of the courtyard, looking like he was about to cry. With a pair of red rabbit-like eyes, he set up an array and conjured a seal at the same time. I don't want to be a demon king at all anymore. Shining. Perhaps because Little Black's eyes were filled with resentment, Lone Moon could not help but nudge the person beside him. Are you really sure that this demonic spirit contract can draw out the so-called God Fiend? I'm not sure. Shining shook her head seriously. Lone Moon, I Ching, Black and White, so, you're just going to let Little Black try to die. Don't worry, nothing will happen. It was not a big vow. Shining subconsciously took a step forward and stood closer to the crying demon king. Little Black had already finished setting up the array. He even set up more than 10 defensive arrays in one go. Then, he stood in the center of the array and took a few deep breaths, as if he was desperately preparing himself for something. After a while, he turned to look at Shining. Exalted Goddess, can't we change the vow? Shining did not answer. She only raised the fruit in her hand and opened her mouth to bite into it. Little Black's figure shrank and he immediately stood back in the array. Then he raised his hand high and channeled demonic chi into his voice. He shouted loudly, "The oath of heaven, the supreme god of the demon Tao, the king of the demon world, Li'in hereby swears by the demon spirit, to follow the laws of heaven and earth, to obey the rules of the great Tao. Tonight, I must let Exalted Goddess Shining eat sweet dumplings. If I break this vow, I am willing to bear the heavy punishment of the God Fiend." In a moment, his loud voice spread throughout the entire demon city and did not stop for a long time. The city? Little Black. This is too embarrassing. I want to cry. Intersection, chef. Yes. Make salty dumplings tonight. Yes, master, no problem, master. Little Black, Lone Moon, Black and White, this was not what they agreed on. Chapter 229. The sky suddenly darkened. They were already at the bottom of the valley, but now the sky was filled with dark clouds and the wind was surging. The sky was dark and even the surrounding air seemed to have become heavy. Before anyone could react, a purple lightning bolt descended from the sky and entered Blackie's glabella at an extremely fast speed. In the next moment, a red pattern identical to the one on the jade pendant appeared on his glabella. It really is the God Fiend seal. Lone Moon was shocked. He did not expect such a ridiculous oath to really trigger the God Fiend seal. Indeed, as long as one was a Sky Fiend or above, they could trigger this. Blackie touched his body subconsciously. Fortunately, he was not missing an arm or a leg. He heaved a sigh of relief and turned to Shining. Exalted Goddess, I didn't. Master, the salty dumplings are ready. Before he could finish speaking, I Ching suddenly held up a big string of dumplings. Did he have to be so fast? He did it on purpose, he definitely did it. Oh, greater than over equal to. Oh, Exalted Goddess, you'll be stuffed after eating the pastries. Do you want to eat later? He said seriously. Master, I've prepared spirit tea. He took out a cup of tea. Exalted Goddess, the pastries and dumplings are so dry. You'll choke if you eat them together. He continued to persuade. Master, I have fruits here. He took out a fruit. Exalted Goddess, look at the freshly wrapped dumplings. It will take some time to cook them. Why don't you eat the sweet ones first? Master, the water manipulation deviant fire art is done. He handed it to her. For all? Flip's table? Can't you just let me be a demon properly? I Ching, no one can doubt my professionalism. Exalted Goddess. Blackie knelt on the ground and cried loudly. The consequences of going against the God Fiend contract are really serious. Why don't you reconsider? Jija, certain someone who had already eaten half a dumpling, asked. What did you say? Blackie, I Ching, everyone, boom. The clouds that had just dispersed gathered again. This time it was even darker than before. There was not a single ray of white light in the sky. Only faint red lightning could be seen. A strong gust of wind swept through the entire demon city. Even the ground started to shake. The others were fine, but Little Black and Jean Ting seemed to have sensed something and knelt down subconsciously. Suddenly, a red light flashed, and the sky seemed to be torn apart by something. A huge red lightning broke through the air and struck down in the direction of Blackie. Sky punishment. Blackie's face immediately paled. The pressure of the world within the red light was so strong that he couldn't even lift his head. Even the demon spirit within his body was trembling. His heart immediately turned cold. It was just a violation of a contract, yet this heavenly punishment was too heavy. Seeing that the lightning was about to strike him, he subconsciously turned towards Shining. Exalted goddess, out of the way. Before he could finish, he felt his collar tighten. Shining suddenly reached out and pulled him out of the range of the lightning. In the next moment there was a loud boom. The red lightning directly exploded on Xinying's body. The dozen or so arrays that Little Black Cloth had set up were all destroyed in an instant, and the ground glowed red. Shining stood in the red light looking up at the dark sky. Master. I Ching stepped forward worriedly. Seeing that she was safe and sound, he heaved a sigh of relief. That lightning? Out of the way. Shining suddenly interrupted him. Everyone was stunned. Before they could react, they subconsciously looked up and saw that 2 more red lightning bolts had suddenly appeared above their heads. They were heading towards them at an extremely fast speed. Holy shit. Even Lone Moon was shocked. The lightning seemed to have appeared out of nowhere. No one could react in time. What was going on? Was this godfiend blind? It was clearly Black's heavenly punishment. Why was it striking them? Chef. Shining turned around and was about to rush over to pull him back. Suddenly, as if sensing something, she retracted her hand. In the blink of an eye, a huge patch of red light enveloped the entire courtyard. One lightning bolt after another struck down, bringing with it an earth-shattering pressure. The strange thing was, I'm fine. Blackie touched his body and found no injuries at all. He hurriedly used his demonic chi to test it out. Be it his cultivation level, demon spirit, or even his meridians, they were all unharmed. How could this be? This was clearly the lightning of heavenly punishment, scarier than any lightning tribulation. Yet he was completely fine. Exalted goddess, what exactly? Exalted goddess? Where's exalted goddess? He looked around only to find that Shining was no longer in front of him. What's going on? It's not just her. Jean Ting suddenly spoke. Those 2 immortal cultivators are gone too. What's going on? Understood. This was an endless stretch of water. The surface of the water was exceptionally calm. It was like a mirror of the sky, reflecting the entire blue sky and white clouds. A man dressed in black stood between heaven and earth. His long hair reached the ground and he stood barefooted. Compared to the good looks of people from both the immortal and demonic realms, he looked very ordinary. At most, he could be considered decent. He had the kind of face that no one would notice. However, his red eyes were exceptionally special. The corners of his mouth were slightly raised with a hint of a smile. Large patches of fire-like red lotuses bloomed under his feet. Although he looked ordinary, he gave off an exceptionally seductive feeling. You wanted to see me? He suddenly spoke. His voice was not loud, but it was somewhat ethereal. It was as if the entire heaven and earth were responding to him. Shining. Shining nodded. She did not panic at all when she was suddenly pulled into a foreign world. Godfiend? The man did not mind her overly calm reaction. After a moment of silence, he nodded. He still had that somewhat friendly smile on his face. Yes, I am the Godfiend. Where's Chef and Father Nyo? She looked around and asked. The Godfiend glanced at her and gently raised his hand. Instantly, the calm water beneath his feet rippled. Slowly, an image that looked like a projection appeared. 2 huge lotuses appeared on it. Lone Moon and I Ching were lying in the lotuses. They seemed to be in a deep sleep. This is my divine realm. The bodies of all living beings in the 3 realms cannot withstand the divine power here. That's why I can only let them sleep first. He explained. Then he looked up at her. Except for you. Oh. Shining glanced at the 2 people in the lotuses. Then, she sat cross-legged on the water surface and continued to chew on her fruit. I have a few questions to discuss with you. What do you want to know? Did you give Huiling's jade pendant? Yes. Was the merging of the immortal and demonic realms your idea? That's true. Did you prepare the book that Father Nyo was reading? That's right. We transmigrated to this world because of you. Basically. Then I have one last question. Please ask. If I beat you up now, is it against the law? Until you can't even take care of yourself. The God Fiend's smile stiffened. After a while he took a deep breath. Shining, I know your situation is special. But this is my divine realm. I am the ancient god who created the three realms. You can't hurt me. Is that so? Shining tilted her head and pulled out a fruit knife from somewhere. She casually stabbed it into the water. There was a cracking sound and a white crack appeared on the surface of the water. It looked like a broken mirror. Do you want me to try? The God Fiend. Chapter 230. Everything I'm doing is for the three realms. The God Fiend subconsciously took a step back and said earnestly, Shining, didn't you also guess that something was wrong? I took the initiative to show myself to you in order to explain this matter. No. Shining shook her head. More accurately, I lured you out. The corner of his mouth twitched. All right, I believe that you are not an unreasonable person. Otherwise, you could have made me appear in the demon realm as soon as I sent down the first heavenly punishment on the little demon king. You wouldn't have waited for me to summon you to the god realm even though you had clearly discovered my existence. No. Shining looked confused. I didn't see you just now. Didn't you look up just now? Did you see him? Oh, I wanted to sneeze. He wanted to drink some tea to calm himself down, but he pulled him in. What was with this urge to spit out a mouthful of blood to kill her? A while later, let's talk about the matter between the immortal and demonic realms. The God Fiend's calm face contorted several times before he regained his composure. I'm not interested in chatting anymore. Shining calmly swung the fruit knife in her hand and was about to stand up. Wait. The God Fiend's face paled and he subconsciously took a step back. His eyes darted around and he suddenly drew a line on the ground with his finger. Two figures floated out of the huge lotus below. It was I Ching and Lone Moon. Master. I Ching subconsciously took 2 steps towards Shining. Shining. Lone Moon was also confused. What is this place? What's going on? The divine realm. Shining pointed her chin at the person opposite her and explained, the God Fiend. The God Fiend. The two of them were shocked and looked at the man warily. This was the God Fiend? Although their bodies cannot withstand the divine power here, it is not a problem for their primordial spirits to appear. The God Fiend was still smiling at Shining. In that case, are you willing to listen to my reason? Fighting would hurt their relationship. Shinying's brows relaxed a little. She then sat back down and put away her fruit knife. Speak. The God Fiend's smile deepened. He said slowly, the reason why I am combining the 2 realms is not only for the Fiend realm, but also for the 3 realms. As he spoke, he raised his hand, and the originally boundless sky-blue water suddenly darkened. The water source began to dry up, and a golden meandering stream vaguely appeared on the ground. However, the water in the stream was extremely sparse, and only a stream as thick as an arm could be faintly seen. It seemed like a pulsating meridian, and it extended into the distance with a dense golden light. Do you recognize this river? The demon god asked. River? The 3 of them looked down. This river was too precious. What river? This is the main branch of the river of forgetfulness that passes through the demon realm. He sighed deeply. Forget river? I'm sure you all know that in the beginning this world was divided into 3 realms, heaven, earth and man. The river of forgetfulness was the only river of samsara that flowed through the 3 realms. Just like a person's meridians, it branched out to every corner of the 3 realms. What is flowing in this river is not water, but the souls of all living things. Soul. Shining narrowed her eyes. The river of forgetfulness gathers the souls of all living things, and also sends these souls to every corner of the 3 realms. Every drop of water is a soul. Whether it was a demon, a god, or a living thing, all living things in the 3 realms were once a part of the river of forgetfulness, and will eventually return to this river. This is the truth of the samsara of all living things. No wonder the power of samsara could cleanse everything, even demonic chi. Back then, Chingu sent Xian Tong into samsara for this reason. There were only souls in the river of forgetfulness, and naturally it could not contain anything else. And the reason why Xian Tong could not cleanse her demonic chi even after 3 samsara cycles was also because Chingu forcefully interfered and made her reincarnate directly. Her soul did not stay in the river of forgetfulness. Even beings with long lifespans like the immortal, demon and god races can die. When that time comes, they will naturally return to the river of forgetfulness and enter samsara again. The original demon realm was the same. Original? Shining caught the keyword. That's right, the original. The demon god nodded, frowning even more deeply. Suddenly he waved his hand behind him. This is the main branch of the river of forgetfulness in the immortal realm. You will understand when you see it. Just as he finished speaking, a blinding light came rushing towards him. All he saw was a dazzling golden light, so wide that he could not see the end. It stretched for more than a few kilometers behind him and he could not see the end of it at all. Half the sky was reflected in gold. This. Lone Moon stared at the wide main branch of the river of forgetfulness, and then looked at the small river of forgetfulness in the demon realm under his feet. How can this be? Wasn't the difference too big? Was he sure that the demon realm was also the main branch? The immortal realm, demon realm and god realm originally belonged to the same realm. Originally, these three races belonged to the same main branch of the river of forgetfulness. But ever since the divine race ascended to the immortal realm and god realm were separated into two realms, causing the demon realm to be sealed. The main branch of the river of forgetfulness was split into three, and was not as good as before. The immortal realm and the mortal realm are connected. Although the divine realm is separated from the immortal realm, it is merged with the earth realm, so the impact is not very obvious. Only the demon realm was sealed outside the three realms. The river of forgetfulness was isolated for many years, and as time passed, the river water dried up. And the people of the demon realm. Souls cannot enter samsara. Lone Moon continued and looked up at the person in front of him. So, in order to save the demon realm, you merge the immortal realm and the demon realm into one, and let the river of forgetfulness of the demon realm flow through the three realms again? Yes. He nodded and resumed his faint smile, and no one could tell whether he was happy or angry. Then why did you pull me into this world? Lone Moon could not help but ask. If it was for the demon realm, he was one of the three ancient gods, and he definitely had the ability to merge the realms. Who could stop him? There was no need to pull him into this world at all, right? Although I am the god fiend, I have already left the three realms. I cannot directly interfere with the matters of the three realms, and can only interfere indirectly. He explained in a low voice. You intend to let me open the door to the demon realm? Lone Moon was shocked. No, you are just a supporting person. The god fiend shook his head. The spell on the door to the demon realm that Zhan Ting created is indeed a teleportation spell. But the material used to create the door is the heaven-opening stone that was left in the demon realm in ancient times. The Emperor Ascension stage is the heavenly pillar of the two realms. If the heaven-opening stone of the demon realm is placed on it, the two realms will naturally be connected to each other. So, the door to the demon realm can only be opened on the Emperor Ascension stone. He nodded. After the demon realm was sealed, I calculated the most likely person to open the door to the demon realm on the heavenly pillar. Lone Moon pondered for a moment. Is it Qinggu and Xiantong? Yes. He looked calmly at the two people beside Shining. But the success rate of this is only 50%. There is still a very important obstacle, and you are the only person who can eliminate this obstacle. That is why I summoned you into this world. Obstacle? Lone Moon was stunned for a moment. Suddenly, he thought of something and turned to look at the person beside him. Yiqing. In the plot, the only person who can stop the door to the demon realm is him. The god fiend's smile deepened. The answer was obvious. That is why you let that book appear in front of me? The corner of Lone Moon's mouth twitched. Only someone who understood the plot in advance would want to stop Yiqing from sending himself to death, but is there a need for you to write these predictions into a novel? Are you a freaking writer? And the kind that will get your water meter checked. After I calculated all your reactions, I disguised it in the most suitable way to appear in front of you. The most suitable way isn't that? Lone Moon's expression darkened. At the same time, two suspicious gazes landed on him. What are you looking at? A certain someone exploded. I told you I don't like to read pornographic books. Oh, *2*, oh your sister. Retract that suspicious wavy line of yours. The god fiend's face turned bright red. He turned to point at the person in front of him. Can you guys pay attention to the main point? That pornographic book is all a plot by him. I have no interest in it. From what I know, you read it 4 times. The god fiend asked. Pop. The sound of bubbles bursting could be heard in the air. Lone Moon, oh, the waves of ecstasy grew many times longer. Shut up. Vessel *. Chapter 231. However, there was still a problem with my calculations. The demon realm turned to look at Xining. Something flashed across his eyes. What happened after that had already deviated from my calculations. That's why I chose Hui Ling. She was originally a puppet formed by a strand of Zichen's demonic aura. She accidentally entered the river of forgetfulness and was tainted by the aura of a soul. She was not a living being of the three realms. So when she made a wish to me to gain power, I answered her. It turned out that on the day of the competition, the strange white light that appeared in Hui Ling's jade pendant and the void realm that trapped Xining were really the power of the God Fiend. But did Hui Ling already know my identity from such a long time ago? It was no wonder that she had been targeting Xining from the beginning. If she was really a manifestation of Zichen's demonic qi, then she naturally would not be able to resist the power of a God Fiend. But the immortal realm and the demonic realm have always been at odds with each other. Aren't you afraid that the two realms would really end up fighting each other? Aren't you afraid that the two realms would really end up in a terrible situation? I Ching suddenly spoke up, raising his head to look at the man not far away, his brows furrowed. If it weren't for Master, the immortal realm and the demonic realm would have fought each other a long time ago. Then what would be the point of merging the two realms? Didn't the divine race seal off the demonic realm to avoid this? As an ancient demon god, the creator of the demon race, are you saving them or destroying them? The moment he said this, Lone Moon was stunned and immediately reacted. That's right, he kept saying that he was going to save them, but the merging of the two realms would obviously lead to more sacrifices. Their lives and deaths are not within the scope of my consideration. His expression did not change, as if the lives and deaths of the demons were completely meaningless to him. You. The duo was infuriated. All I worry about is balance. What kind of broken balance is this? Lone Moon could not help but scold. If it was really for the sake of balance, you should not have allowed immortals and demons to merge into one. He was silent for a moment, then glanced at the two of them. What you see is only the survival of the two realms, but what I see is the reincarnation of the entire three realms. What do you mean? The number of living beings in this world is limited. He said in a low voice, the fiend realm is also a part of the three realms. Although the river of forgetfulness in the fiend realm cannot enter samsara, people's hearts are fickle. The immortal realm cannot enter the fiend realm, but mortals can become fiends. In the long run, what do you think will happen? The two of them were stunned. Indeed, the ascension of a devil cultivator from the mortal realm was equivalent to ascending to the devil realm. Looking at it this way, the demon world was a place where one could only enter and not leave. In the long run, the number of souls in the demon realm who could not enter the cycle of reincarnation would increase, and the number of souls that could be reincarnated in the three realms would naturally decrease. One day all living beings would go extinct. Therefore, life and death are not important to me. The balance of the three realms is important. From the perspective of the survival of the entire world, even if the entire immortal and demon realms were to die in battle, they would just return to the river of forgetfulness. It had no effect on the world at all. For a moment, both of them were silent. What about me? Xining suddenly broke the silence. She looked up at the god fiend in front of her. What part of your plan do I play? This. The smile on the god fiend's face froze for a moment. Then he smiled even more brilliantly. Your power is special. In order to prevent any accidents from happening, so, I'm kind of insurance? Ahaha. A trace of guilt flashed across his eyes, but he immediately regained his righteous demeanor. The facts have proven that, although the process was different from what I had predicted, it was precisely because of your existence that the immortal and demonic realms merged together more than 100,000 years earlier than expected. Countless souls were prevented from disappearing. So, what you did was a good thing. Xinying's eyes narrowed slightly. The look in his eyes became more and more resolute. Everything I did was for the three realms, for this world. Save the three realms? Xining looked straight at the person in front of her. Do you feel that you are especially selfless, especially great, especially awesome, especially sacred and inviolable now? So people should cooperate with you, should be used by you, should abandon everything and let you do whatever you want? I did it to save the world. She suddenly laughed coldly. You just said that everyone has a responsibility to save the world. That's right. But have you freaking forgotten that this is not our world at all? Reincarnation of the river of forgetfulness? What does the survival of the three realms have to do with Father Nyo and me? I have no problem with you wanting to save the world, to merge the realms, to predict the future. But you pulled a completely unrelated person over and played a big game for nothing. After that, you directly put a big hat on the survival of the three realms, and you want to pretend that nothing happened? Do you think that we, who live in another world, are so easy to bully? No, even children in kindergarten know that you have to get permission to ask for help. But the way you forcefully pulled someone from another world over without saying a word is not asking for help, but kidnapping, isn't it? Because you have a reason, because you want to save the three realms. So you can play us for a fool? May I ask, did we enter your river of forgetfulness? Or did we eat your rice? The god fiend, I Ching and Lone Moon, there really was rice and there was a lot of it. I hate kidnapping. Especially moral kidnapping. Shining stood up directly, her eyes darkening as her lips curved into a somewhat cold smile. No matter how many people you save or what righteousness you achieve, but you still owe Father Nyo and me an apology. And I like to get it back with my own hands. With that said, she suddenly cupped her fists and pressed them together. A crisp cracking sound shook the god fiend's heart, and he subconsciously took a few steps back. But Shining flashed to his side, and in the next moment she was already in front of him, reaching out. Wait. The god fiend's face paled, the calm expression on his face disappeared completely. He was the god fiend after all. His figure flashed, and in an instant he retreated 5 or 6 steps. Before the people opposite him caught up to him, he hurriedly waved his hand and explained loudly, I only let you transmigrate here with permission. Bullshit. Lone Moon also reacted, he was almost tricked into entering. Saving the world was indeed very important, but they were not people of this world. No matter how much they tried to save it, it was not their turn to come over, and it was even forced. They helped out of friendship, not out of duty. What they hated was not being forced to save the world, but his attitude when he was clearly using others, yet still taking it for granted. According to what he said, if not for Shining this time, perhaps he would not even appear in front of them to explain all this. Shining, he's stalling for time, beat him up. They had to vent this anger no matter what. Really? I'm speaking the truth. The god fiend hurriedly took out something from his chest and handed it to Shining. I did indeed get permission to let you transmigrate here. If you don't believe me, take a look. Lone Moon took a look and found that it seemed to be an envelope. The style did not look like the kind in this world but more like the modern kind. Shining hesitated for a moment, then took it and pulled out a piece of paper. She looked down and suddenly, the slightly angry expression on her face suddenly turned as white as the paper in her hand. Shit. Chapter 232. The moment she saw the words on the paper, Xin Ying's hands trembled and she almost threw the letter. Her entire body froze, her face turning from red to white to green and then to purple. Her expression was rich and colorful. She had even cured her facial paralysis for many years. Shining? Lone Moon nudged the person whose acupoints were suddenly sealed. What's wrong with you? What's written on the paper? He could not help but step forward curiously, about to look at the letter. Shining retracted her palm and took a deep breath. Her expression changed instantly. She suddenly smiled warmly at the god fiend, blinking her eyes and asking in a low voice, Mr. God Fiend, is there anything else I can help you with? Not to mention merging 2 realms, even merging 4, 5, 6 or 7 realms of heaven, earth and man can be done. Do you want to try? The god fiend, I Ching, Lone Moon, it's alright, you can take your time to think about it. Leave it to me, the kind that doesn't require a salary. Her voice was full of twists and turns. Shining, you're crazy. Lone Moon looked at her in disbelief. Wasn't she freaking changing too fast? Shining completely ignored him, smiling even brighter. Whether it's saving the world or moving bricks, merging realms or tearing down walls, I'm a professional. Just tell me, don't stand on ceremony. No need. The god fiend was also confused. Was he blind? The person smiling like a sunflower in front of him, was she really that Shining? Alright, don't be anxious. Your satisfaction is my goal. She blinked her eyes even faster. She almost added, give me a good review, my dear. Hey, Shining. Lone Moon could not help but reach out to touch her head. Are you sick? Shining slapped his hand away and glared at him coldly. Get off. She turned to look at the god fiend with that exaggerated smile of hers. Then is there anything else, Mr. God Fiend? No. Alright, then we'll leave first. Shining waved at him. Take care, Mr. God Fiend. Goodbye, Mr. God Fiend. Goodbye? Shin? Lone Moon still wanted to say something, but Shining tugged at him. The next moment, she pointed to the crack on the ground that she had made with the fruit knife and stomped hard to make a big hole. She grabbed Chef with her left hand and dragged Father Nyo with her right. Without hesitation she jumped into the hole and disappeared. The god fiend. Was he hallucinating just now? Lone Moon felt his vision blur, and the next moment he was back in the demon realm. Little Black's eyes lit up. He was about to step forward, but Shining had no intention of stopping. Throwing down 2 words, "Go home." Then he grabbed the 2 of them and ran out of the demon city like an afterimage. He kept running out of the demon world and headed straight for the Bo-Si Heavenly Palace. He ran back to the rear hall where he usually lived and slammed the door shut. Only then did he lay on the ground like a dead dog, panting for breath for a long time. A while later. "Chef, no one followed us, right?" No. That's good, that's good." I Ching, Lone Moon, what exactly happened? Lone Moon finally saw the letter that Shining was still clutching tightly in her hand. He pulled it over to take a look. He saw that there was a neat row of black words written in standard Chinese characters. "Littling, go and help. You're dead if you don't complete it. Sister, stay quietly." Quiet? This letter was written by your sister? Lone Moon's mind went blank. He seemed to have figured something out. Subconsciously he asked, "Shining, don't tell me your sister is called Shin." "No." Before he finished, Shining, who was lying on the ground like a dead dog, suddenly rushed over and covered his mouth. She looked like she was about to cry. "Father Nyo. My biological father, I beg you don't say that name. I still want to live for a few more years, really. Don't jinx it, please don't raise flags, okay? Master?" Not only Lone Moon, even I Ching was shocked by her extreme reaction. Was it so scary? Just hearing the name made her want to dig a hole and bury herself. He really wanted to know what her sister had done. "You can't be Shining." Lone Moon had never seen her like this. "I just said a name. Is there a need for you to do that?" "There is a need, of course there is. What if she hears it?" "It was very scary, okay? She can't hear it." "No." Shining shook her head hard and looked around. "My sister's ears are very, very sensitive." Lone Moon and I Ching, no matter how sensitive she was, she couldn't possibly hear the voices of another world, right? "There's nothing on this letter." Lone Moon looked at the letter again. "Why are you so scared? No matter what, she's still your sister. Do you think she'll eat people?" Shin Ying's face turned green. After a long while she sighed. "Sai, you don't understand. My sister is scarier than a cannibal." "What kind of person is Master's sister?" I Ching could not help but ask. Shin Ying shivered subconsciously and her expression changed. "My sister, wait." The corner of Lone Moon's mouth twitched. He looked at the 2 of them and said, "Before we tell the story, can we get out from under the bed first?" I Ching, Shining, what the hell? It was one thing to crawl under the bed, but why did she have to drag the 2 of them with her? Half an hour later. "Master, have a cup of tea to calm yourself down." I Ching handed a cup of tea to her. She finally calmed down and gulped down the tea. She handed the empty cup over. "Another cup, no, 3 cups." The corner of Lone Moon's mouth twitched. He snatched the cup from her hand. "That's enough. You can tell me now, right? What exactly happened? What did your sister do to you?" Shin Ying's hand froze. She seemed to want to hide out of reflex. She looked around and sighed again. "You don't understand." "Then tell me." Lone Moon was really curious. What kind of person could make the cheat Shining like this? Shining quietly drank a few more cups of tea and glanced at the 2 of them. After a while, she said with some hesitation, "Let me put it this way. All the abilities I have now were forced out by my sister's demonic training." "What?" Lone Moon paused and suddenly thought of something. He stood up abruptly. "Your heaven-defying cheat ability, don't tell me it was also trained by your sister?" "Oh no. I only got this after I transmigrated." She shook her head. "Other than this." Lone Moon heaved a sigh of relief and sat back down. He rolled his eyes at her. "Other than cheats, you have other abilities? Eating and getting angry after waking up?" A little." Shining thought about it seriously. "For example, curve folding, spatial dimension control, spirit body development, 3rd type of language, extreme development of the brain, artificial intelligence." She said tens of nouns in one breath. Lone Moon, what a mess. He had never heard of a single one of them. "What are these things you're talking about? Could it be some kind of cult?" "It's very difficult." "All right, then what have you achieved by learning all these?" Shining frowned. She counted with her fingers as if she was really serious about something. After a while she said, "I've won more than 10 medals for space managers." "Does that count?" "What?" What the hell? Awards given by the district manager. Chapter 233. That award is quite difficult. It's only given out once every 2 years. Master is indeed wise. I Ching praised his master. Master's mind is clear and agile. Naturally, you can do what we can't and think what we can't. Bootlicker? Lone Moon glared at Chef. If he didn't understand, then so be it. Would he die if he didn't brag a little? But on second thought, Shining was indeed quite smart sometimes. Of course, that was when she wasn't being lazy. What you said isn't that great. What else do you know? Huh? She thought about it carefully. After a while, she said, when I'm bored, playing with IT counts? Ready? You. Lone Moon scanned her from head to toe. That's my profession. You play games, that's not IT. What kind of IT skills could a housewife have? I know other things too, Shining said seriously. What? For example. She thought about it. After a while, she asked, your company had an interstellar game, but the main engine was modified. You only found out about it after 5 years when you released a remake? How did you know? Lone Moon was shocked. That was one of the main projects of their company's gaming department. It was very popular and profitable. But it was modified not long after it was released. Although it didn't have much impact, the technical department only found out about it 5 years later. Because it didn't cause any damage and seemed to be better than the original engine, it was kept a secret. Only a few of the company's higher-ups knew about it. Oh, I was the one who modified it. Also, does your main server lag for 2 seconds at midnight and can't be repaired? Yes. That's because my computer is too slow. I borrow your server regularly to transfer things. Damn. Also, during the finals of the gaming competition you organized, the game suddenly crashed and couldn't be restarted. It was delayed until the next day? Yes, there was such a thing. Oh, the file I used your server that day was a little big. Damn. Oh, before transmigrating, did your technical department discover holographic technology and prepare to release a holographic online game? That can't be. I wrote the core program. I forgot to delete it when I borrowed your server. Motherf asterisk her. Also, enough. How many times have you F asterisk king tricked me? He took a deep breath and suppressed the urge to tear her apart. Did I owe you in my past life? Why do you keep staring at me? Shining hesitated. After thinking for a while, she gave him a definite answer. Maybe, it's too boring to rest. Boring your ass. You play other people's servers all the time because you're bored. If you're that capable, go play the US Department of Defense's server. Lone Moon took a deep breath to suppress the anger in his heart. You mean to say that your sister taught you all your IT skills? Oh, that doesn't count. I learned it on my own when I was bored, she said calmly. It took me more than 2 months. After all, it was much simpler than the Star Web. Damn it, I can't continue this conversation. Did he ever think about the feelings of the hundreds of technicians in his company? All right. We'll talk about your sister later. We can't just let the Godfiend go like this, can we? He felt indignant. Shining looked up at him. After a while, she said seriously, Father Nyo, how do you think we should settle the score with the Godfiend? Go back? Lone Moon paused. His expression changed. A hint of conflict flashed in his eyes. If he had asked this question when he first transmigrated, the answer would undoubtedly be that he wanted to go back. But he had already lived here for hundreds of years. Not a few years, not more than 10 years, not even decades. It was a whole 300 years. Although he always remembered what happened in his previous life, he had already treated this place as his own world. If he really left everything here and went back to where he came from, he would probably be even more uncomfortable. Lone Moon fell silent. The Godfiend was indeed despicable. But apart from beating him up to vent their anger, they really had no other choice. Even if the Godfiend sent them back now, it seemed unrealistic. He looked up at Shining and asked casually, what about you? Do you want to go back? After all, she had not been here for many years. I Ching immediately looked over with a nervous expression. No. She did not even hesitate. She rejected him decisively and even shook her head forcefully. With a serious expression she said, it's quite good here. I have food, clothes and sleep. I don't have to study. I can even eat supper. It was really a treatment where she could let herself go. Good for nothing. Lone Moon rolled his eyes. Indeed, he could not expect too much from a foodie. Wait, Based on Xin Ying's character, she could not have deliberately stayed here to hide from her sister. Did she treat this world as a holiday? Damn. What the hell was this feeling that only he felt the most aggrieved? Chef, I'm hungry. Make me supper. Yes, master, no problem, master. I Ching heaved a sigh of relief and immediately turned to the kitchen. F*** King retard. Sect master. I Ching was just about to leave when Yu Hong suddenly rushed in. Behind her was Qingyu and Feng Ying. As the eldest senior sister, she had always been steady. She rarely acted so rashly. Bad news, sect master. Xian Tong is missing. Xian Tong? Lone Moon hesitated. He asked in a low voice, why is she missing? What exactly happened? Speak slowly. Let me explain. Sister Qingyu stepped forward. She looked anxious as well. A few days ago, little Tong told me that during the sect war, she had an epiphany and showed signs of forming sword intent. That's why she's planning to go into seclusion to become an exalted immortal. Exalted immortal. Lone Moon's heart leaped with joy. After the seal on Xian Tong's body was removed, she was already a Stygian immortal. Apart from him and I Ching, there was no one else in the sect who could teach her. Usually when he was free he would give her some pointers. But too many things had happened recently. This time they were busy with the moving, so they did not pay much attention to her. And the disciples in the sect had always been left to their own devices. He did not expect her to be so hard-working. She was about to understand her own sword intent so quickly. She was indeed a good seedling for sword cultivation. Yes. That's why these few days, Yu Hong and I have been helping her prepare for her seclusion. Qingyu glanced at Yu Hong and her expression became even more anxious as she said, but when I went to look for her this morning, I found that she was not in the room. The array outside the house was not damaged either. She just disappeared into thin air. She's about to ascend. The immortal qi in her body is not stable. It's impossible that she would leave at this time. Yu Hong continued, and she lives in the east side of the rear hall. That place has always been quiet. I've also instructed the disciples not to disturb her. That's why no one went to look for her. I've also asked the system to search. Feng Ying continued, there's no aura of her in the entire heavenly palace. She should have left. Lone Moon and I Ching exchanged a look. Come, let's go to her room to take a look. With that said, they turned to leave. Just as they were about to step out of the door, they paused and turned back to pick up a certain lump of mud. Together, they headed towards the side hall. Chapter 234. The Invincible Heavenly Palace had hundreds of immortal palaces, but their invincible sect only had more than 200 people. That was why Lone Moon had allowed the disciples to choose whichever immortal palace they wanted to stay in. The disciples all chose to stay around Xian Tong's back hall. It was not far away, and within moments they had arrived at Xian Tong's immortal palace. Unlike the other disciples' immortal palaces, Xian Tong's immortal palace did not have a single immortal herb in front of it. It was all a lush vegetable field. There were potatoes, sweet potatoes, carrots, even onions, ginger and garlic. The corner of Lone Moon's mouth twitched. He immediately knew what these things were for. He turned and glared at Xining. Look at what you've done. The others did not feel anything. It was as if the courtyard was filled with ordinary immortal herbs. They walked through the small path in the middle. Yu Hong took out a token to unlock the immortal palace's restrictions and opened the door. Compared to the flourishing vegetable field outside, the immortal palace was exceptionally quiet. There was not even a single piece of furniture. There was only a meditation mat on the ground, and a white jade vase on the windowsill. Inside it was a flower that was overflowing with immortal qi. Lone Moon released his divine perception and looked around. He conjured a tracking spell, but there was no response. Xian Tong was indeed not here. But where could she have gone? Littling. Sect Master Elders. Roasted Chicken Gal scanned the three of them anxiously. Although Little Tong is the youngest, she has always been the most obedient. She has never made us worry. She could not have left without saying goodbye. She did not even leave a message. Something must have happened. Lone Moon's frown deepened. Yu Hong, have you sent disciples to search outside the Heavenly Gate? Especially the nearby islands? I have. Yu Hong nodded. I have searched nearly 100 islands under the Heavenly Palace. I have also informed all the country emperors, but there is still no response. Where could she have gone? He turned and nudged Xining. Do you see anything? Xining shook her head. Her gaze landed on the flower on the windowsill. Nothing? You can't see anything either? Lone Moon squeezed the jade flute in his hand. What exactly is going on? Why don't we ask Salted Fish? Qining suggested. Salted Fish? Lone Moon paused. Then realization dawned on him. You mean Chenggu? That's right, with Xian Tong's relationship with Chenggu, he might really be able to find her. Moreover, that kid Chenggu, ever since they moved to the Bo Si Celestial Palace, he would come here every other day. He would even send all kinds of immortal artifacts to Xian Tong from time to time. Even a blind person could see that he liked Xian Tong. He even said that since they were all from Feng Tsang, it was only natural for them to take care of each other. However, Xian Tong despised him. 9 out of 10 times she refused to meet him. Not only did she never accept his immortal artifacts, but she also often showed off Lan Hua and Sun Shu's immortal artifacts in front of him. One of them was a former genius celestial, the Arch, while the other was from a family that specialized in weapon refinement. Their immortal weapons were naturally not inferior to Chen Ji's. Every time he would suffer a huge blow, and after 2 days of depression he would come back with a vengeance. The entire Invincible sect and even Lone Moon were happy to see the two of them together. Although Chenggu was not particularly strong, he was still a celestial, the Arch. After working with him a few times he was still trustworthy. Yu Hong, quickly send someone to the Feng Tsang Celestial Palace and invite Celestial Emperor Chenggu over. Lone Moon immediately ordered. Go through the palace's transportation array. On the day of I Ching's sky-bearing ceremony, the various celestial thearchs not only congratulated him and repaid their debts, they also set up transportation arrays in the Celestial Emperor's sky-bearing ceremony. Now it was much more convenient. All right. Yu Hong nodded. Chef should go. Qining seemed to have thought of something as she turned to look at I Ching. He's faster. Yes, master. I Ching had no objections. In a flash he rushed out. A moment later he rushed back, grabbed something and threw it. Coming. Lone Moon, Yu Hong, Chenggu, this was too freaking fast, wasn't it? Was this an invitation? This was clearly kidnapping. What? Lady Xian Tong is gone. Chenggu jumped up from the ground. Wasn't she going into seclusion? Why did she suddenly disappear? We're not sure about that. Lone Moon shook his head. Chen Ji's expression darkened. But, who could kidnap Lady Xian Tong from the palace? Invincible Heavenly Palace? We invited you here to ask if there's any way to find her. Xian Tong was about to ascend and her immortal qi was unstable. She could not be disturbed. If they were not careful, something big could really happen. Chenggu glanced at Lone Moon, his expression anxious. He sighed and said, I understand what you mean. He already knew that Xian Tong was the incarnation of the demonic seed and mental demon that he had separated from her. But although Xian Tong's soul was originally one with mine, she has already gone through multiple reincarnations and is already an independent soul. What's more, the demonic qi on her body has already disappeared. Apart from the last bit of connection I have with her, I have no other connection with her. What's more, this connection was not enough for him to locate her. Then what should we do? Qingyu was even more anxious now. She had raised Xian Tong single-handedly and was naturally more anxious than anyone else. Little sister Little Hong, Qining suddenly said. She tugged at Yu Hong and said, Go get Boss Lan here. Why do you want him to? Lone Moon stopped mid-sentence. He suddenly understood and his eyes widened. You mean that radish array? Pui, the heart-entrapping array. That's right, Chenggu could pull Xian Tong over with the heart-entrapping array. He could definitely do it again this time. Yu Hong, go quickly. Yu Hong also reacted. Her eyes lit up and she nodded repeatedly. Yes. She quickly ran out to get someone. Lone Moon thought for a moment, then asked Qingyu and Feng Ying to move Radish over just in case. He took out a few immortal meridians and planted them in the vegetable field in front of Xian Tong Immortal Palace. He even dug a big hole. After everything was arranged, Lan Hua and Radish came over. Lan Hua was quite loyal. He only gave a brief explanation. Once he heard that the missing person was Shorty, he immediately started conjuring seals to set up an array. Then, everyone in the courtyard turned to look at a certain celestial emperor dressed in white robes. Chenggu paused, then seemed to understand something. He raised his hand cooperatively and said, I understand. I have experience in this. With that said, he jumped into the hole that Lone Moon had just dug. Thinking that the missing person was his sweetheart, he asked worriedly, Do you need to cover my head with some soil to bury me? Lone Moon, Lan Hua, Qining, everyone, was this the side effect of being a radish? Cover soil? Why don't you just sprout? Chapter 235. Perhaps because of his previous experience, Lan Hua set up the array very quickly this time. In less than an hour he was done. Thick demonic qi surged out from his body, enveloping the entire vegetable field in an instant. The sky darkened. The originally lush and verdant vegetable fields suddenly withered. The demonic qi spread out like vines, following the pattern of the array. Even Radish, who was playing with mud, stopped. It began to look around the vegetable field seriously, observing where Radish would appear. After a while, it suddenly pointed at a potato on its right and said, "Over there, little big sister, over there." Indeed, in the next moment, there was a poof and a huge potato appeared on the ground. In an instant there was a huge pit in front of them. A familiar voice came from the pit. "Sect. Master. Little Tong." Qingyu was delighted. She was the first to run over and was about to dig her out. In the next moment, there was another poof and she shrank back into the soil again. Her entire body seemed to be unstable, sometimes big and sometimes small. This is... Qingyu was at a loss. Why is this happening? Little short. Xin Ying's expression darkened. She stepped forward and squatted beside her. What exactly happened? Where are you? Xian Tong's body was still changing as if there was something pulling her. Her voice was also intermittent. I'm not, where? I've never seen it before. I can't use it, he's not, an immortal. In the next moment her voice disappeared completely. The huge potato on the ground did not appear again, leaving only a hole. The demonic qi surrounding it also dissipated. What's going on? Lone Moon looked at the hole in the ground, then turned to look at the person in the center of the array. Lan Hua, this is... Lan Hua. Poof. Lan Hua suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. His face was as white as snow, as if he was seriously injured. Holy shit. What's wrong with you? Lone Moon was shocked. Everyone was also shocked. Lan Hua did not answer. He clutched his chest with one hand, looking even worse. I Ching stepped forward and checked his pulse. After a while he frowned. It's the array's backlash. How is this possible? Lone Moon's eyes widened. This was not the first time Lan Hua used this array. The last time he pulled 7 or 8 people in at once but nothing happened. Why couldn't he do it this time? Someone cast a spell on Xian Tong, not only her body but also her soul. Lan Hua took a deep breath and said in a low voice, "That person's aura is very strange. It doesn't look like immortal qi or devil qi. If he's not an immortal or a devil, could he be a god? No." Lan Hua shook his head with certainty. It's definitely not the god race. That aura. I can't describe it, but I only touched it a little before I suffered a backlash. Lone Moon's expression darkened. Xian Tong was such an unlucky child. Why was it always her? The first few times he had a target. This time he didn't even know who it was. However, what was certain was that someone had taken her away by force. You're injured. Hurry up and regulate your breathing. I Ching reminded. Only then did Lan Hua sit down cross-legged and begin to regulate his breathing. However, the demonic qi on his body was extremely unstable, fluctuating between thick and thin. Lone Moon waved his hand and gestured for everyone to leave. At the same time he pulled Qinggu out of the hole. Then he instructed Yu Hong, go to the heavenly gate and see if Little Black has arrived. He should be on his way here. Lan Hua is a demon. We can't help with his injuries. Yes. The few of them returned to Xin Ying's back hall. They discussed but still couldn't understand. What was Xian Tong trying to tell them? Xining. Lone Moon had no choice. He nudged the person who hadn't spoken since they returned to the room. Who do you think caught Shorty? And what's the aura that Lan Hua was talking about? I don't know. Xining shook her head. After thinking for a while, she added, but what Boss Lan said should be the same as this flower. As she spoke, she suddenly took out a vase from under the table and placed it on the table with a thud. Everyone, wasn't this the vase of flowers on Xian Tong's windowsill? When exactly did you move it back? Why didn't anyone notice it? What's wrong with this flower? Lone Moon leaned closer and was about to activate his immortal qi to examine it. Flower. Radish suddenly jumped out like an engine that had found a keyword. It jumped onto the table excitedly and stared at the vase. Wild flowers can go to hell. Little big sister is mine. As it spoke, it raised its leaf and slammed it towards the vase. Radish. Lone Moon was shocked. This little bastard. He hurriedly reached out to stop it but was a step too late. Radish's leaf was already slamming towards the flower bud in the vase. There was still immortal chi on the leaf. Just as it was about to hit the fragile red flower bud, a gray chi flow suddenly flowed out of the flower bud. Not only did it disperse the immortal chi on the leaf, it also directly bounced Radish away. With a smack, Radish was like a small cannonball. It was directly bounced against the wall and was instantly smacked into a dried radish. There was even a radish-shaped dent in the wall. Radish? And everyone in the room was shocked. They hurriedly ran over. Lone Moon used an earth elemental spell to dig it out of the wall. Its originally snow-white body instantly turned purple, as if it had been dyed. The entire radish seemed to have been knocked into a daze. It looked at Lone Moon blankly, and only then did it realize that it was in pain. With a loud wail, it turned around and rushed into Xin Ying's arms. "Wah, little missy, it bullied me. It hurts. It hurts so much." Its head full of green leaves looked like it was raining water splashing out. Xin Ying frowned and distastefully pulled away a little. "It's so ugly." She casually threw it to roasted chicken gal beside her. Wow, Radish hugged Qingyu tightly and cried even more sadly. Ever since it met Xin Ying, Radish really had not suffered such grievances. It was a vegetation spirit. Its soul was originally pure, and it had just transformed not long ago. Although there was gender discrimination, most of the people in the sect were female. In addition, it had a sweet mouth. The disciples in the sect all doted on it. Besides Lone Moon and the rest, it was not an exaggeration to say that everyone else was obedient to it. This was the first time it was beaten to this extent. Its entire body was purple. What's more, the other party was a flower without sentience. It was no wonder that Radish was crying so hard. All right, Radish, be good." Qingyu comforted gently for a long time before stopping its tears. Xin Ying pointed to the vase on the table. "Did you see it?" The faces of the people in the room darkened, and they nodded. Stepping forward to take a closer look at the flower, they realized that the flower had suddenly withered. At a speed visible to the naked eye, it turned yellow as if it was corroded by demonic chi. Chapter 236. Lone Moon conjured a seal and used a sliver of immortal chi to scan the withered yellow flower. That aura has already disappeared. It must have been used up when I attacked the radish. Vegetation immortal herbs are the easiest to infect the surrounding aura. I Ching said, "This flower was placed on the windowsill. It must have been accidentally infected with Xian Tong's aura when he kidnapped her. But I've never seen this aura before." Lone Moon's brows were knitted into a dead knot. No wonder Lan Hua couldn't say anything just now. This aura is indeed strange. It's not immortal chi, nor is it devil chi. Furthermore, it's so gloomy and cold. Just now he only felt a cold and gloomy aura instantly fill the entire room. Moreover, just a wisp of remnant aura was enough to repel Radish. Although Radish was a vegetation spirit, its cultivation was not low. From this, it could be seen how powerful the person who took Shantong away was. As far as I know, no one with such an aura has ever appeared in the immortal world. Chen Gu paced back and forth anxiously. Could it be someone from the demon world? No. Lone Moon shook his head, denying his guess. If there really is such a person in the demon realm, Xin Ying would have met him when she entered the gate of the demon realm with your mental demon. She would not have waited until now to appear. Moreover, Little Black would not dare to release someone to capture the disciples of Invincible sect. Then what exactly is this? Everyone was silent. They couldn't figure it out even after thinking for a long time. One by one they unleashed their sorcery in an attempt to track that aura, but it was useless. Even Feng Ying's system tried it, but it was to no avail. Lone Moon was a little irritated. Is there really no one who knows what this aura is? There's someone? Xin Ying thought for a moment and suddenly said, he definitely knows. Oh. Just as Lone Moon was about to ask, someone pushed the door open and entered. Scanning the room he said, Exalted Goddess, I'm back. The Demon King smiled ingratiatingly. That sky fiend called Lan Hua's injury is nothing serious. I've already helped him regulate his breathing. He'll be fine after a few days of rest. Xin Ying nodded and suddenly smiled brightly. You've worked hard. Little Black trembled violently and subconsciously took a step back. Exalted Goddess. If there's anything you need, tell me. Don't smile at me, okay? My legs go soft when you smile. Extremely soft. Blackie. Yes. Let's make another vow, the kind where we have to meet the demon god. Little Black, Lone Moon, I Ching, The spectators who didn't know the truth. Honestly, exalted goddess, do you not like Blackie anymore and want to change to another demon? 5 minutes later. Exalted goddess, what kind of oath do you want to make this time? Last time it was dumplings. This time it should be mooncakes, right? What's wrong? Is there a problem? No. Yes, exalted goddess. No problem, exalted goddess. Therefore, a clear oath was instantly heard in the Bo Si celestial palace and instantly spread across half of the heavens beyond heaven. Oath of heaven, demon Tao, venerable God, king of the demon world, Li'in hereby swears by the demon spirit, to follow the laws of heaven and earth, to obey the rules of the great Tao. Tonight I must let exalted goddess Shening eat the 5-kernel mooncake. If I violate this oath, I am willing to bear the heavy punishment of the demon god. Sai, I'll get used to this shameful thing after doing it. Chef, give me the egg yolk mooncake. Yes, master, no problem, master. 5 minutes later in the divine realm. The god fiend, could he use a different method to summon him next time? And a certain ancient god frowned. He looked at the person opposite him and asked, have you finished eating? She had been eating for 5 minutes. Wait. Shining swallowed the last half of the mooncake. She was in a hurry and choked. She coughed a few times. Finally, I Ching, who was beside her, hurriedly handed her a cup of tea. Only then did she swallow it. Dusting off the mooncake crumbs on her hands, she waved at the person opposite her. Hello, Mr. God Fiend. He was not feeling well at all. Why did you ask that little demon king to summon me? I have something to trouble you with. Shining pulled out the withered flower from her waist. Do you know what the aura in this flower is? The god fiend looked at the flower in her hand. He was still smiling faintly and nodded. Of course I know. What is it? The god fiend scanned the 3 of them. After a moment of silence, he said, you want to find the child that was born from the mental demon. You know where Shen Tong is? Lone Moon could not help but ask anxiously. Of course. The god fiend smiled. I am one of the 3 ancient gods who created the world. I know everything that happens in the 3 realms. Then, but I can't tell you that. What? Lone Moon hesitated. Didn't they talk about it quite excitedly the last time? I said it the last time. I have long left the 3 realms. I cannot actively interfere with the affairs of the living beings in the world. Otherwise there will be more chaos. The god fiend sighed and continued, the child that was born from the mental demon, although it was only a remnant of someone else's soul in the beginning, now it has already given birth to a new soul. It is already one of the complete living beings in the 3 realms. She has her own fate. That is why I cannot tell you. Bullshit. Lone Moon did not like the god fiend from the start. Now he was even angrier. You pulled us into this world back then. Didn't you attack? There was also Hui Ling's matter. Hui Ling did not give birth to her own soul. Of course she does not count. But you come from another world. You are not from the 3 realms. Anything that happens to you has nothing to do with the 3 realms. Damn it, this little bitch. Lone Moon's expression darkened. Suddenly he thought of something. His eyes lit up. According to what you said, I am not from the 3 realms. So you can tell me these things? Anyway, it does not count as you interfering. The god fiend was stumped. It did not work that way. You said it yourself. The god fiend shook his head. Telling you is no different from me directly interfering. What's more? He suddenly turned to look at I Ching. You are not. He is a native of the 3 realms. I Ching was stunned. He suddenly raised his hands and covered his ears, pretending not to know anything. I can't hear you. Lone Moon, Shining, the god fiend. Do you think I am blind? Under her, cut the crap. Just tell me your conditions. Shining took a step forward. If he really did not want to interfere in this matter, he could have just not responded to Little Black's oath. Why did he drag the 3 of them here? Who would believe that he did not have any ulterior motives? The god fiend paused. The smile on his face deepened. There is indeed a small matter that I would like to ask Shining for a favor. Speak. He took out a piece of mooncake and continued eating. I want you to help me find someone. The god fiend's expression darkened. A hint of genuine worry flashed across his eyes. Recently, I have not been able to sense her presence. Perhaps you can help me find her. Chapter 237. Shining glanced at him, a little surprised. Your lover. The god fiend's mouth twitched. After a while he said, You're mistaken. She's Mengpa. Mengpa. Lone Moon exclaimed. His eyes widened. You mean, the Mengpa from Mengpo's soup? Soup? Xinying's eyes lit up. Which soup? For all? Shut up. Lone Moon glared at her. If you drink that soup you'll lose your memory. It's for you to use before you reincarnate. Did she have any common sense at all? Don't get all spirited the moment you hear about food. Amnesia? The Fiend Celestial was taken aback as he thought of something. He smiled and said, that was just a joke Granny Meng made. The so-called Granny Meng soup is just water from the River of Forgetfulness. The River of Forgetfulness can cleanse a person's soul, allowing all living beings to return to their original state. The past will naturally dissipate. Whether you drink it or not, you'll have to enter the River of Forgetfulness. Lone Moon, shit. So this was the meaning of Mengpo's soup? He felt that in those love stories, the couples who promised not to drink Mengpo's soup were all King retarded. Like me, Mengpo is one of the three ancient gods who split open the sky. The God Fiend explained in a deep voice, I, Mengpa, and the God of creation created the three realms from the chaos. Granny Meng is in charge of the River of Forgetfulness and controls reincarnation, I am in charge of light and controls order, and the God of creation creates everything in the three realms. You're in charge of light? Lone Moon paused. Aren't you a God Fiend? Are you kidding me? Demon God is just a name given to me by the Demon Clan. He still had that smiling expression just like how Mengpa used to call him River of Forgetfulness. You said you were looking for Mengpa? What happened to her? I suddenly can't sense his existence. The God Fiend sighed. He and I were born because the God of creation created the sky. She was the embodiment of the River of Forgetfulness, in charge of the reincarnation of this world. In the past, she never left the River of Forgetfulness, but this time the River of Forgetfulness had changed. The Devil World was sealed. If she had personally come to the Devil World, she would have been able to reconnect the River of Forgetfulness. She didn't appear, Shining replied. The God Fiend nodded, that's right. This is the reason why I spent so much effort to unite the immortal and demon realms. Before he could say anything, they had already fled. Although Granny Meng is one of the ancient gods of creation, it might be because the River of Forgetfulness has passed through too many living beings in the three realms. The more she came into contact with them, the more she would inevitably be affected. That was why her personality was a little more jumpy. In the past he would often hide, but this time is different. He frowned. I can't sense her presence at all. Even the God of creation can't find her. Both of you are from a different world. I Ching has great luck and Shining has special abilities. Perhaps you can really find her. Why should we help you? The previous debt had not been settled yet. The Fiend Celestial fell silent for a while before saying, if Mengpa is not around for a long period of time, the River of Forgetfulness will definitely go out of control. When that happens, the three realms will definitely be in turmoil. He turned to look at I Ching. Perhaps you don't care, but can you really stand by and watch as the living beings of the three realms are destroyed? Lone Moon choked. Shit. The world crisis again. Of course, I really don't have the qualifications to ask you. The God Fiend's voice slowed as he immediately added, how about this? Regardless of whether you can find Mengpo or not, I will tell you the method to connect to your world. How about that? Really? Lone Moon was shocked. There was actually such a method. In that case, he did not need to consider whether he should stay or leave. The God Fiend's smile deepened. He raised his hand and said, I swear by the heavenly Tao. All right. Lone Moon nodded. He trusted him once more. But the three realms are so big. Where are we going to find him? What's more, Shining, who had no sense of direction, was he sure that he had normal vision? Mengpa will not leave the source of the River of Forgetfulness for a long period of time. The God Fiend said, you only need to search for her in the realm where the source of the River of Forgetfulness is located. It's very simple. You mean you want us to leave the immortal realm? Easy as hell. What was he going to do with the wealth he had accumulated for so long? Also, where is the source of the River of Forgetfulness? It can't be the Netherworld, right? Holy shit, he really planned to send them to hell. To be precise, it's the divine underworld. The God Fiend corrected. God. Netherworld? What did that mean? After the divine realm left the immortal realm, the entire realm ascended. That's why it's now part of the same realm as the Netherworld. Ascended to the Netherworld? You're saying, the Netherworld was originally one of the three realms? The Heaven Realm. The God Fiend nodded. The source of the river of forgetfulness is naturally at the top of the three realms. Lone Moon, I Ching, this was different from what they had agreed on. A bunch of nouns like hell, king of hell, black and white impermanence appeared in his mind. And those evil ghosts that even ordinary cultivators could deal with. So they were all residents of the imperial capital of the heaven realm? Although they were the kind that flowed. Why did he suddenly feel that the divine realm had fallen to the bottom of the valley? Where's Shorty? Shining suddenly asked. Don't worry. Given her fate, she'll be fine. She's not fated to die, the god fiend explained. And wherever you go is where she is. Xian Tong is in the divine underworld. Lone Moon was shocked. No wonder none of them had seen the aura from the flower before. So it wasn't something that belonged to someone from the celestial realm? But why did the divine race want to capture Xian Tong? That's not right. Can people from the divine realm enter the celestial realm as they please? If they could, why had no divine race appeared in the celestial realm all these years? This was illogical. You'll understand once you go to the divine underworld. He waved his hand. Instantly, a white light flashed and floated in front of them. I can't interfere with the three realms, so I can't go there personally. If you're ready to move, use your immortal chi to activate this. It will bring you to the divine underworld. As long as you're within 10 feet of Meng Pa, this thing will light up as a red warning. I'll appear then. Shining reached out to take it. Lone Moon looked down and his mouth twitched. Indeed, it was another jade pendant. And it was the same as the two pieces that Hui Ling had. Did this god fiend have some special obsession with jade pendants? Thank you for your hard work. The god fiend's smile deepened. His figure became fainter and fainter. Even the entire divine realm dissipated like fog. Wait, they weren't done with their questions. At least give them a general direction. Lone Moon wanted to ask more, but the scenery in front of him changed. They were already standing in the courtyard of the Heavenly Palace's rear palace. Little Black was sitting on a chair opposite them. He was holding a bowl-sized piece of mooncake and munching on it. It was a 5-kernel mooncake. Exalted Goddess, you're back. Little Black dusted off the mooncake crumbs on his hands. That was fast. How was it? What did the god fiend say? Little Black. Shining suddenly interrupted him. She glanced at the empty plate on the table and narrowed her eyes. You can leave now. Huh. He just arrived not long ago. Why dash? Just as he was about to ask, Shining suddenly glanced at him. Little Black felt a chill run down his spine. He subconsciously trembled. Why was the exalted goddess looking at him like that? Demon King, please? Yu Hong was very perceptive. She started to chase him away. Little Black looked confused. He turned back every step he took and walked out. Little sister Little Hong, did I do something wrong? He felt that the exalted goddess was looking down on him. Yu Hong looked at him strangely. What? It's better if you don't know. Why? Sect Master hasn't had dinner today. Huh? What do you mean? Speak clearly so that I can suck up to you next time. Chapter 238. What do you think? Should we go or not? Lone Moon frowned. He had agreed readily just now, but now he was a little conflicted. Xian Tong was currently in the divine underworld, and her situation was unknown. Although the god fiend said that she was not in danger for the time being, it did not mean that she would be fine in the future. Moreover, she was only a Stygian immortal. In that place where gods were everywhere, it would be strange if she could be safe. Especially her indescribable bad luck attribute. No matter what, he was still a disciple of their sect, so it was impossible for them to ignore him. However, if the three of them went to the divine underworld, putting aside the fact that the god fiend wanted them to look for Meng Pa, it would be a problem if they could even return. The world of immortals seemed to be in peace. That was because of Shining. The moment she ascended to the god realm, the immortal realm and the devil realm would start fighting at any moment. And the first to bear the brunt was the invincible heavenly palace. Although the 10 sky demons haven't recovered from their injuries from the last time you beat them up. With the 10 heavenly emperors joining forces, it was not that they did not have the power to fight the fiend world either. But if you add Little Black, it was not that he was biased, but the strength of the immortal world was really too weak. Moreover, the demon world still has Zhan Ting. Although Emperor Zhuohua was present, this henpecked husband wouldn't be able to cause much trouble. But if they really caused a ruckus, the other demons might come looking for them. What do you think we should do now? Shining stammered. As she chewed on the vegetables, she turned around. What did you say? Lone Moon felt a ding in his mind. Something snapped. You're still in the mood to eat? Can't you see that I'm so anxious? He was so angry that his liver hurt. He turned around and glared at a certain person who was walking towards the kitchen. And you? Stop cooking. You've already cooked more than 20 dishes. Father Nyo. Shining slurped the food into her mouth. You'll only have the energy to think when you're full. Chef, add a tomato scrambled egg. Yes, master. No problem, master. That's enough. Lone Moon resisted the urge to flip the table. Aren't the two of you worried about Shorty at all? After all, they had known each other for so many years and watched her grow up. I'm worried. Shining nodded. That's why I asked Chef to make a few more dishes for us to eat on the road. What if there was nothing to eat there? You're really planning to go to the divine underworld? And you're planning to leave now? What else? But if we leave our sect in the immortal and demonic realms? Father Nyo. Shining suddenly interrupted him and said in a low voice, Why did you leave Black Heaven sect back then? Lone Moon stared blankly at her. Why? Black Heaven sect intended to make Yi Qing and Shening the scapegoats. They were supposed to protect their disciples, but they didn't care about their disciples' lives in times of crisis. That was why Yi Qing's heart was cold towards such a sect. Then, he boarded Shenying's pirate ship. It's the same for us now. Shening thought about it and said, Shorty is a member of our invincible sect. Lone Moon's whole body shook, and the knot of depression that had been condensed in his heart dissipated instantly. Yes. Why was he hesitating? They were disciples of invincible sect. How could they let others bully them? As for coming back with the cheat, he had nothing to be afraid of. If worst comes to worst, I'll just capture a demon and make him swear an oath. I understand. Lone Moon smiled. He felt his entire body relax. His heart mirror was transparent. He glared at Shening out of habit. And, get your oily claws off my shoulder. Damn it, she even took the opportunity to rub against him 2 or 3 times, treating his Dharma robe as a rag. Don't think I didn't see it. Do you believe that I won't stomp it? Shening retracted her claws and continued to reach for the big bowl in front of her. There's crayfish tonight. Sigh, a pity that she didn't prepare a napkin. Her hands were so oily that it was hard to pick up other dishes. Master, the tomato scrambled eggs are ready. Lone Moon conjured a dust-removing seal and wiped away the oily claw marks on his shoulder. Then he sat back down at the table. He looked around worriedly. It seemed like he had to make arrangements for the heavenly palace as soon as possible. After all, there were so many disciples to worry about. Don't worry, Yi Qing said as he moved the tomato scrambled eggs in front of Shening. The God Fiend did not hesitate to use the method of connecting the 2 worlds to request for us to go to the divine underworld. It seems that he had already thought of everything. Then he must have arranged everything that we're worried about. Lone Moon was stunned. Just as he was about to ask, the ground shook. Not far away, a thick demonic chi rose into the sky. In an instant, it covered the entire heavenly palace. The immortal chi was forced to disperse in all directions. This is the direction of Lan Hua? And look at the level of the demonic chi. Lan Hua has ascended. Lone Moon was shocked. He stood up immediately. Lan Hua was a sky fiend. If he ascended, he would be a demon king. Although Lan Hua was a demon, his heart had always been biased towards the immortal realm. Could this be the God Fiend's arrangement? If Lan Hua ascended to the demon king, even if they weren't here, the immortal and demonic realms could still maintain balance. He had to say that the God Fiend had really thought of everything. The worry in Lone Moon's heart dissipated a lot. Shening Wei. Before he could finish speaking, a golden light suddenly lit up around Shenying's waist. It instantly enveloped the 3 of them. Holy shit! It's that jade pendant? Lone Moon shouted. But it was too late. The 3 of them disappeared on the spot. The God Fiend was a liar. He said that immortal chi could be activated, but he didn't say that any immortal chi could be activated. Somewhere in the divine underworld, thick immortal chi spread throughout the entire forest. Like a white fog, it became thicker and thicker. It seemed like it was about to condense and take form. In a short while, the originally lush and green forest had become a snowy white. And between the layers of clouds, a huge door covered with array patterns appeared. It looked very simple and unadorned. Dermic talismans with golden characters floated around it, carrying with it an oppressive might of heaven and earth. Suddenly there was a creaking sound. The door suddenly opened outwards. Blinding golden light shone out from inside, sprinkling across the entire forest. A faint heavenly voice sounded. It sounded so far away that it couldn't be heard clearly. It was as if something was descending into the world. The next moment, a huge dragon's roar broke through the air. A black figure rushed out from inside, straight into the night sky. The dragon's roar spread in all directions. It did not stop for a long time, causing the sea of clouds to churn. The surrounding immortal chi became thicker. The huge door had already disappeared. It turned into wisps of blue god power that surged towards the figure in the clouds. The huge black dragon was faintly discernible between the clouds. It seemed to be dancing excitedly in the sky. A voice with god power suddenly sounded from the sky. Ah! I finally cultivated a winged dragon and ascended to the divine realm. The dragon's voice was very loud. As it laughed, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. From now on, I'm a true member of the divine clan. As soon as it finished speaking, there was a loud rumble of thunder. The huge black dragon's body suddenly emitted several red lightning bolts. The sky instantly darkened and everything was pitch black. However, the huge dragon was still dancing in the clouds. Its god power immediately spread out in all directions. The more the black dragon flew, the more excited it became. Wuxia, I'll definitely make you pay for what happened hundreds of thousands of years ago. As it spoke, it seemed to be venting its anger. It spat out a huge red lightning bolt. With a loud rumble, it struck downwards. Its entire body rushed towards the forest below along with the lightning bolt. It was as if it wanted to strike the forest below into ashes. The lightning bolt carried with it a shocking might and went further and further away. The huge dragon was eager to vent its anger. It passed through the clouds, the lightning bolt, and the trees. It looked like it was about to hit the ground. Suddenly, a figure appeared from behind a tree. He wore a white robe with blue trim and his hair was a little messy. He raised his head slightly and directly met the huge dragon's eyes. As if he was used to waving in greeting, he said, "Hey, long worm." Chapter 239. The black dragon's eyes widened, and it subconsciously closed its mouth to swallow the lightning it had just spat out. Its body stiffened, but it was too late to turn around, and it was unable to stop its onslaught. With a rumble, the black dragon's huge dragon head plunged into the ground, and like a giant shovel, it directly uprooted a huge ancient tree beside it. All Shining heard was a crash. The ancient tree drew a perfect arc in the air and fell to the ground. She could faintly hear a cracking sound coming from the black dragon's body. It sounded like something was broken. "Hey, are you still alive?" Shining picked up a tree branch and poked at the creature whose head was still buried in the ground. Why did he pretend to be a pangolin? His bones were broken, right? Shining looked carefully at the dragon in front of her. "You're not that long worm from the park director, are you?" Although he had grown bigger, he might have been fed better food. The dragon's body stiffened as if he had just regained his senses. He pulled his head out of the ground and jumped more than 10 meters away. He looked at the person in front of him in horror. Great immortal, you. Why are you here? Isn't this the divine realm? You really are a long worm." Shining was a little surprised. Long time no see. You look different. Even his horns had changed. "Great immortal. I have already transformed into a winged dragon. Naturally, I will look like a dragon." The black dragon trembled out of habit and took a step back weakly. "And I am now the same as Baizhe, a divine race." "Oh." Shining nodded. She imitated Father Nyo and praised him in a commercial manner. "You work very hard." Great immortal, you flatter me." The black dragon chuckled. "Ever since Great Immortal ascended, hundreds of thousands of years have passed in the Azure world. Naturally Wait, you are an immortal?" He seemed to have thought of something important. He scanned the immortal chi around Shining that had not completely dissipated. A cold light flashed in his eyes. Even the fear in his eyes faded. Shining hesitated for a moment before nodding. "I guess so. Then?" It heaved a long sigh of relief and looked straight at Shining. Its body lit up with red lightning again, and its mouth curved into a sinister smile. "That's great." Shining tilted her head. "Ahaha." It suddenly let out a burst of cold laughter, and the lightning on its body brightened. "I almost forgot I'm already a god. Do you think I'm afraid of you? What can a mere immortal do to me?" With that said, he suddenly leaped and pounced towards Shining. Is he itching for a beating? 2 minutes later. "Exalted goddess, I was wrong. In the future, I will be your worm when I live, and I will be your dead worm when I die." As long as you command me, I will go through fire and water. I will go through water and tread on fire without hesitation. It's not that serious. Shining frowned. I just want to ask you for a favor. Please give me your instructions, exalted goddess. I just arrived in this world and got separated from Chef and the others. She looked around in confusion. Bring me out of this forest first. Yes, exalted goddess. No problem, exalted goddess. Leave it to me, exalted goddess. The black dragon nodded vigorously. Exalted goddess, do you know roughly where the person you're looking for is? I don't know. They disappeared the moment I arrived in the divine world. Then, how long have you been in this forest, exalted goddess? For 5, 6 months? She had forgotten. The black dragon. This forest isn't that big. How did you manage to get out of it after spending a few months? Then exalted goddess, why don't we get out of here first? The black dragon asked tentatively. Afraid that she was unwilling, he added, exalted goddess, don't worry. Before you find the person you're looking for, I'll be by your side. All right. Shining nodded very agreeably. Thank you for your hard work. It's my job, my job. The black dragon chuckled. Then, can I trouble exalted goddess to pull me out of this rock on the ground? This should be a divine mystic rock. It's too hard. I think I'm stuck. That's why she had to do it herself when they could talk nicely. Wait a minute. Shining retracted her foot from the dragon's head. She looked around and picked up its tail. She remembered that it said the rock was too hard, so she exerted a little more force. She tightened her grip and pulled hard. With a loud tearing sound, the black dragon was still stuck in the rock. Shining had half of the dragon's tail in her hand. Shining? Ayo! A blood-curdling screech instantly spread through the entire forest. It carried along the echoes of the screech, echoing endlessly. I'm sorry. I didn't expect this rock to be so hard. Shining scratched her head apologetically. She immediately changed her strategy. Why don't I break the rock? With that said, she clenched her fist and punched the ground. There was a series of cracking sounds. Cracks spread out like a spider web. The huge rock under their feet collapsed instantly and shattered into pieces. The black dragon, who could finally move, froze in place. Why did it suddenly feel that it was extremely lucky not to be beaten to death just now? Let's go. Shining jumped down from the pile of rocks. She took 2 steps, but the black dragon did not follow. Longworm, why are you standing there? Aren't you going? The black dragon's whole body trembled. It looked at the rubble on the ground in fear. My legs are weak. All 4 of your legs are weak? Shining glanced at it and sighed. She turned around and said kindly, why don't you? I'll carry you. No. There's no need. The black dragon jumped up. A black light flashed on its body and it turned into a man dressed in black. I can walk. Thank you, exalted goddess. Shining did not mind. Longworm, which way? Why don't we go east? The black dragon pointed to the right and followed behind her like a little wife. All right. Shining started walking. Exalted goddess. East is on your right. Oh. She immediately turned in another direction. Exalted goddess, that's left. A quarter of an hour later, a light breeze swept through the forest. A man dressed in green landed on the pile of rubble that the 2 of them had just left. His eyes were red and he looked angrily at the rubble on the ground. Damn it. Who destroyed the Supreme Divinity's divine mystic stone? He waved his hand. Instantly, a faint layer of white fog appeared on the divine mystic stone. It began to slowly gather and take shape. In a short while it turned into the shape of a dragon. Even its color turned black. So it's a black dragon. The man's expression became even more furious. Damn it. He waved his sleeves. Instantly, a huge aura exploded from his body. In an instant, half of the forest behind him collapsed. The man glanced at the rubble on the ground. Once again he turned into a light breeze and disappeared. At this moment, Shining, who was outside the forest, was looking at the endless grassland in front of her in surprise. Wow, it really came out. Chapter 240. Shining, who had no sense of direction for a few months, could not help but praise the worm beside her. Good job, Longworm. Of course. The black dragon smiled humbly. The forest wasn't that big anyway. Exalted goddess, what do you plan to do next? Huh? Shining thought about it and glanced at the path in front of her. Let's go to a crowded place first. Chef would probably come looking for her. Perhaps they would bump into each other. The key was, did you bring anything to eat? She was really not used to not having anything to eat. Eat, what? The black dragon shuddered. He was instantly reminded of the beast's hide that had been cut in half. His face turned pale. Exalted goddess, I've been undergoing grain liberation since I was very young, so I don't. Shining looked disappointed. She turned and scanned the black dragon from head to toe. She seemed to have discovered something. Long worm, you, bada. Before she could finish her sentence, the black dragon's legs gave way and he fell to his knees. He started wailing, Exalted goddess. I can't eat it. I still need to show you the way. Also, my meat tastes really bad, really? No, Exalted goddess, have you forgotten that I'm a demonic dubworm? My entire body is poisonous. If you eat me, you'll have diarrhea. Actually, I know you're hungry, but I still want to get married and have a nest of little dragons. I won't die in peace, Exalted goddess. The corner of Xinying's mouth twitched. What nonsense was this? I'm not going to eat you. Exalted God, I'm not. The black dragon was stunned and his tears stopped. He looked at Xinying in disbelief. You're not? Yes. She nodded. I don't know how to cook. The chef wasn't even here. The black dragon heaved a long sigh of relief, looking as if he had just escaped death. That's good. What did the exalted goddess want to say? Xinying glanced at him. Oh, I wanted to remind you to change your clothes. Huh? What did that mean? Don't you know there's a big hole in your clothes? Xinying pointed at his back. Exalted goddess, you must be joking. The black dragon explained seriously. My black robe is still formed from dragon scales, it won't. He subconsciously touched his back and felt a cool sensation. His body instantly stiffened. Don't you feel that your butt is a little cold? A while later. A blood-curdling scream pierced through the air. He had forgotten that half of his tail fin had been torn off, and he had actually walked through the entire forest with his butt bare. There was no hope for a dragon's life. The dragon and the man walked aimlessly for more than an hour. Only when they passed through a grassland did they gradually see other figures. The black dragon could only tell from their breaths that most of them were from the god clan in human form. However, they might have used some kind of concealment spell so the black dragon could not see through their original forms. They asked around, but no one had seen I Ching and Lone Moon. But the further east they went, the more people they saw. In less than a moment, there were already dozens of figures flying with them in the sky. These people seemed to be flying in the same direction as if they were in a hurry to go somewhere. There was a faint look of excitement on their faces, and they were flying rather anxiously. This little brother. Xinying waved at the person closest to her. The person next to him stopped and looked around blankly. Here. Xinying hurriedly waved her hand in front of his eyes. The person paused for a moment before noticing her presence. Fellow Taoist, what's the matter? Where are you going? Xinying did not hear any news about Chef and Father Niu, so she asked casually. You don't know? The person looked at her in surprise. We are naturally heading to the Lingtai Mountain to attend the Great Dharma Assembly. We are going to listen to Supreme Divinity Hongyu's Tao lecture. Supreme Divinity Hongyu? Oh. Supreme Divinity only opens a Tao hall once every 1,000 years, and each time, it's only for 3 days. The person explained excitedly. Supreme Divinity's dharmic powers are very strong. Everyone who listened to his Tao lecture benefited greatly, and their cultivation levels increased greatly. That's why everyone is so anxious to get a good seat on the Lingtai Mountain. I also specially rushed over from the north. Are there many people going to this great Dharma assembly? Of course. He nodded vigorously. In the entire divine underworld, who doesn't want to receive Supreme Divinity's guidance? Not to mention the divine races, even the wild spirits can be enlightened by him. It's not impossible for them to step into the great Tao. Oh, little girl, I have to go first. If I'm late, there will be too many people. I'm afraid I won't be able to squeeze up the mountain. Thank you. You're welcome. He nodded kindly at her, then sped up and flew away on his cloud. Exalted goddess, do you want to go to that great Dharma assembly? The black dragon turned to look at Xinying, who was sitting on his cloud. Xinying nodded. There should be many people at the public class. It would also be convenient for her to put up a missing person notice or something. What the hell was a public class? The black dragon did not dare to ask. He obediently sped up and flew in the direction of the crowd. The long worm flew very quickly. In a short while, a huge floating mountain suddenly appeared between the clouds in front of them. It was different from the majestic heavenly palaces in the immortal world. The entire floating mountain was surrounded by 7-colored divine light, as if it was glowing. It was especially eye-catching. There was also a moving sea of clouds at the bottom of the mountain. A bridge made of lotus flowers extended from the bottom of the mountain to the huge lotus platform in front of them. The lotus platform was very wide, and there were already many immortals standing on it. At a rough estimate, there were thousands of them. Every one of them was surrounded by blue god power. The only difference was the amount. Most of the divine races maintained their human forms, but there were also some who looked like beasts that Shining had never seen before. So many divine races. The black dragon's eyes widened. He scanned the beast-shaped people one by one, his face full of surprise. This was the first time he saw so many different divine races. The strange thing was that there was no dragon race in the middle. The scene was very lively. Although there were many people, they were very orderly. They all lined up according to the order in which they came. There were no signs of arguing or queue cutting. The scene was very harmonious. This was indeed the highest level of the divine world. Exalted goddess? The black dragon stopped in the air and looked inquiringly at Shining. Let's line up first. She pointed downwards. The two of them fell at the back of the line. Long worm asked. She pointed at the people who were falling behind. All right. The black dragon immediately went forward and asked the people at the back of the line. Unfortunately, they still did not get any clues. They could only go in and ask. The line advanced very quickly. In a short while, they were already at the front. Only then did they realize that there was a huge array in front of the lotus platform. But there was no one guarding it. There were only a few rows of dazzling golden words floating in the air beside it. Beer Platform Dharma Assembly. Education without discrimination. Apart from the dragon race. Shining, Black Dragon. Why did they discriminate against the dragon race? What did they do? And the 4 words at the back, they were obviously added later, right? They were obviously smaller, weren't they? Chapter 241. Exalted Goddess. The black dragon turned to look at Shining. What do we do? Don't worry, let's go in first. Shining gave him a look and lowered her voice. No one recognized you as a dragon just now anyway. Is it really possible? Don't worry, it's all right. Shining patted her chest and promised. After some thought she added, I'm here, what's there to be afraid of? That's right, there's still the exalted goddess. The black dragon made up his mind and stepped into the door. In an instant there was a series of swishing sounds. More than 10 spirit swords appeared all around and landed under the black dragon's legs, surrounding him in the middle. The red light under his feet shone brightly. At the same time, thousands of swords appeared above his head. The swords were aimed at him and rained down on him. The black dragon. Everyone, what happened to being fine? The black dragon was a dragon after all. Although the sword array came suddenly, he reacted very quickly. He subconsciously transformed into his dragon form and rushed forward, dodging the sword rain in time. In an instant, a huge black dragon appeared on the lotus road in front of him. The gods who were just chatting and greeting each other fell dead silent. Thousands of eyes were fixed on the black dragon. He suddenly had a bad feeling. Dragon. It's a dragon. No one knew who shouted, but for a moment, everyone seemed to be ignited. They all stared at it with their eyes wide open. Black dragon, it's a black dragon. It must be the one supreme divinity is looking for. Catch him. Instantly, everyone present seemed to have been ignited. They took out their Dharma artifacts and cast their arts. A huge sea of people pressed towards the darkness. Even the Lingtai mountain, which was not far away, flew out in an instant. The black dragon could only summon lightning to attack the Dharma artifacts in the air. He looked at Shining. What do we do? Save me. Shining scanned the crowd in front of her and said decisively, Run. In the next moment, there was a whoosh and a cloud of dust rose from the lotus platform. There were too many people. Fighting was tiring. The black dragon. Didn't he say that he would protect him? The black dragon didn't even have time to feel sad. He slapped the person beside him away with his tail and turned to chase after him, running for his life. The onlookers, what a fast figure, but why was he running towards the supreme divinity's Lingtai mountain? Walk right into the trap? Just as the two of them were about to reach the foot of the Ling Tai mountain, a golden lotus suddenly descended from the sky. With a clang, the petals instantly closed and wrapped around the black dragon. The black dragon was caught off guard and crashed headfirst into the petals. Instantly, he felt stars before his eyes, and all the divine power in his body was sealed. Outside the lotus, Shining. Shit. He got the wrong way. The black dragon. Why was he the one who was hurt? Why was it always him? Ling Tai Mountain Flamboyant Hall. An oppressive pressure filled the entire hall. A dozen or so heavenly gods with unfathomable cultivation bases sat on either side, each of them glaring furiously at the black dragon trapped in the lotus. How dare you, evil dragon! You destroyed the supreme divinity's divine mystic stone, and you still dare to behave atrociously on the Ling Tai mountain. Do you know your crimes? A person on the right walked out and looked at him furiously. What divine mystic stone? The black dragon hesitated for a moment, then glared at them angrily. It's my fault for barging in, but don't try to frame me. You still dare to quibble. That person's expression turned cold. He immediately used a spell and a water mirror appeared in the hall. On it, an image could be seen faintly. Do you recognize this place? The black dragon took a closer look and realized that it seemed to be a forest. The lush greenery looked a little familiar, especially the pile of gravel on the ground. Wait a minute. Wasn't this the stone that exalted goddess Shen slapped him into previously? He could even vaguely see the groove in the pile of gravel where his original shape was. The divine mystic stone that he was stuck in belonged to that supreme divinity? I have indeed been to this place before. The black dragon coughed and said, but this stone was not broken by me. The divine mystic stone in this bewitching forest was placed here by supreme divinity Hongyu. He personally set up an array to nourish it. That person snorted coldly and his voice became even more furious. I want to take a look. The remnant aura in the gravel was your aura. If it was not you, then who did it? It's. The black dragon choked. He did not dare to say who it was. Oh, it's me. Shining raised her hand. Who? That person was shocked. He looked around before noticing the woman standing beside the black dragon. Who are you? When did you barge in? It was not just him. All the gods in the hall were shocked. In order to prevent the black dragon from escaping, there was an isolation array outside the hall so that no one could enter. When did this woman appear? They actually did not notice at all. I've been here all along. Xinying's mouth twitched. Ever since they caught the black dragon and brought him in. The person who asked the question's expression darkened. He scanned her from head to toe and realized that there was not a trace of god power in her body. He immediately relaxed. With such low god power, it was no wonder that they did not notice her. Little girl, what do you mean by what you said just now? That stone. Shining pointed at the water mirror. Maybe. I was the one who smashed it. The black dragon immediately said obsequiously, you can't blame the exalted goddess for this. Your stone is too weak. The exalted goddess smashed it with a light punch. How dare you call it the divine mystic stone? You're saying that it was this woman who smashed the divine mystic stone directly? That person's expression darkened even more. He looked at the black dragon coldly. That's right. Nonsense. That person became even more furious. He slammed the table and stood up. You black dragon, you have no sense of shame. You destroyed the supreme divinity's divine mystic stone first. Not only do you not know how to repent, you even tried to make connections with her? Hey, I'm telling the truth. Shut up. The divine mystic stone is the hardest divine stone in the divine underworld. Even the true fire of the phoenix race might not be able to refine it. How could it be smashed with one punch? Do you think I'm blind? You're really blind. The more he spoke, the angrier he became. He looked like he wanted to smash the black dragon's head. Even the other gods beside him started to criticize the black dragon. I didn't think that the dragon race of the 4 great divine races would have such a shameless dragon. That's right, a bunch of lies. In order to escape punishment, he actually made up such an excuse. That little girl looks like a little god who just ascended to the deity position. How could she have such god power? This unrepentant evil dragon must be dealt with severely. That's right. The supreme divinity is coming to preach soon. This matter must be resolved before he returns. The black dragon. In this day and age, no one believed the truth. Shining, I can only help you this much. Fellow Taoists, how do you think we should deal with this dragon? The person at the head of the left stepped forward and asked the gods with cupped fists. Chapter 242. Everyone looked at each other for a while, and after a while they began to speak one after another. The supreme divinity Mystic Rock has been raised by the divinity for tens of thousands of years. This dragon has committed grave sins. We cannot let it off easily. That's right. It's a dragon. Today we work together to get the supreme divinity's golden lotus to take it down. If we don't punish it now, who knows what evil it will do in the future. But we can't hurt it. Why don't we hand it over to the supreme divinity? No, the supreme divinity has always been soft-hearted. What if this black dragon deceives the supreme divinity and she lets it go? The deities were silent for a while and looked at the black dragon with disdain. Scapegoat dragon. What does this have to do with me? Why don't we send it to the Dragon Valley? The person on the right suddenly said. No. The person on the left immediately objected. Isn't sending it to the Dragon Valley releasing a tiger back into the mountains? The dragon race had always been self-centered. They would not care about this matter. I mean, send it to the Dragon Abyss in the Dragon Valley. As soon as he finished speaking, the eyes of everyone in the hall lit up. That's great. That's right. Hasn't the supreme divinity in the Dragon Abyss been looking for a male dragon of the same race for the past 1,000 years? Sending this black dragon over is perfect. He has just ascended. The supreme divinity will definitely be pleased. That's right. The supreme divinity is very powerful. This black dragon will not be able to do anything to her. Since that's the case, it's decided. Hurry up and send it away. The supreme divinity is about to preach. Don't let him see this dragon. Wait, what do you want? The black dragon suddenly had a bad feeling. It wanted to rush out but was trapped by the golden lotus. It could not exert any strength. Let me go. The deities ignored it. Two of them even walked over quickly. Each of them cast a spell and lifted the black dragon trapped in the golden lotus. Then they walked out. The black dragon could not move at all. It could only be pulled along with the golden lotus. I'm warning you. Let go of me. Otherwise, you'll suffer when I come out. The two of them turned a deaf ear to it and dragged it impatiently towards an array. In a flash, the few of them left the Lingtai mountain and arrived at another world. The weather was getting hotter and they were surrounded by withered grass and trees. The two of them pulled the black dragon and flew for a while before stopping in front of a huge volcano. The ground beneath their feet was covered in lava. The two of them tossed the black dragon down from the clouds and untied the golden lotus on the black dragon's body. Then they turned around and flew away. It was as if they were running away from something. In an instant they had disappeared. The black dragon lost its balance and almost fell into the ground again. Fortunately, Xin Ying, who had been following by its side, pulled it up in time to prevent its face from hitting the ground. Thank you, exalted goddess. The black dragon thanked her with a bitter expression. But, exalted goddess, can you not pull my tail next time? Half of it was already gone, it really hurt. All right. He had gotten used to it. The black dragon rubbed his tail, feeling wronged. He glanced at Shining and asked, Exalted goddess, why didn't you beat them up just now? She promised to protect him. Because. Shining said seriously, I'm in the wrong. No matter what, she was the one who broke the rock. She emphasized, I'm a reasonable person. Moreover, she was not the one who took the blame. The black dragon. Why is your way of reasoning different from mine? Oh, greater than over equal to. Oh, the black dragon looked around. He could feel the thick dragon chi around him, making him feel extremely comfortable. Even the wound on his tail was healing automatically. He was even more confused. To a dragon, this seemed like a good place. Why did they throw me here? Didn't they say they were going to punish him? There was no reason for them to send him to such a good place. Shining shook her head. Just as she was thinking about it, a surprised voice suddenly sounded. There's a newcomer. A gust of wind blew past them. Two women, one in white and one in green, suddenly landed in front of them. They were looking in the direction of the black dragon with shining eyes. That's great. It's a male dragon, let's send him to the Dragon Palace. All right. The other woman in green said excitedly. Supreme Divinity has been in a bad mood recently. It's just right to send him there. Yes. Although he's a little ugly and lacks a tail fin. The woman in white scanned the black dragon from head to toe. Supreme Divinity probably won't mind. With that said, the two of them walked towards the black dragon. Who are you two? The black dragon immediately got up, swung his tail and roared at the two. What do you want? Of course we want to send you to the Dragon Palace to be Supreme Divinity's husband's servant. The woman in green said matter-of-factly. Didn't you enter the Dragon Abyss for this? Husband's servant? SB what the hell? The black dragon felt that his male dignity was being insulted. His eyes widened and he scolded, who wants to be someone's husband's servant? I'm a dignified dragon, how can anyone think that way? Wait a minute. Could it be that the people who captured him sent him here to make him a ghost husband's servant? Could there really be a perverted supreme divinity in the Dragon Abyss who specialized in capturing male dragons? Damn. He did not want to be someone's boy toy. You black dragon, why are you so unreasonable? The woman in green glared at him with some dissatisfaction. You're already in the Dragon Abyss. Are you not here to be Supreme Divinity's husband's servant? Are you here to have fun? I was kidnapped and brought here. The black dragon was angry and annoyed. Your Supreme Divinity must be too ugly to marry. You want me to marry her? Dream on. I sell my skills, not my body. How dare you? The two girls were angry. They pointed at him and said, how dare you be rude to Supreme Divinity? The black dragon was also angry. Get lost. Otherwise I'll eat you. With that said, he prepared to pounce on the two girls. His dragon claws were about to grab them. The two girls' expressions turned cold. Suddenly, their bodies shook and in the next moment, they turned into two huge dragons, one green and one white. Their bodies looked even bigger than the black dragon. They were dragons too. The black dragon was stunned. Before he could react, he was directly suppressed by the two dragons. His entire body was pressed to the ground. Where did this country bumpkin come from? How dare you be rude to Supreme Divinity? You're just a crippled dragon without a tail. How dare you talk big about marrying Supreme Divinity? Dream on. To be able to be a servant and warm Supreme Divinity's bed is a blessing from my previous life. That's right. Why would Supreme Divinity fancy a lowly dragon like you? You don't know your place. Beat him up. The black dragon howled miserably as it was grabbed. For a moment, its black scales fluttered in the air. I'm going to die, I'm going to die. Exalted goddess. Exalted goddess. Save me, exalted goddess. They're dragons too. Save me. Save me. Shining. Can't you learn from your mistakes? Shining sighed. She turned around and grabbed the tails of the two dragons with each hand. Girls, calm down. Just as she was about to pull them off the black dragon, a cold voice came from behind. What's the commotion? Chapter 243. A scorching aura hit them in the face. The surroundings were dyed fiery red. A fire dragon formed from lava appeared in front of them. A woman dressed in red stood on the dragon's head. Her long hair was tied up high, and light blue divine power surrounded her body. She seemed to have deliberately restrained it. From afar one could feel an oppressive power. Her aura was astonishing. What was important was her face. She was extremely beautiful but had a rare heroic spirit. Wow. She looked like a mature sister. The black dragon was stunned. For a moment, it forgot to struggle. Greetings, Supreme Divinity. The two dragons that were pressing down on it and rubbing the dragon's scales stopped. In an instant they transformed back into the two cute girls from before. They obediently bowed to the person on the fire dragon, their eyes filled with joy. Supreme Divinity, you're back so soon? The woman nodded. She glanced at the two of them and slowly walked down from the fire dragon. Every move she made carried the suppressive power of a high-level divine. The moment she landed, the fire dragon behind her turned back into ordinary lava. What happened here? She glanced at the dragon's scales on the ground and frowned slightly. Supreme Divinity, the woman in green said, we found a black dragon that broke in. We wanted to send him to the Dragon Palace. But not only was he unwilling, he even spoke disrespectfully to Supreme Divinity. We were so angry that... The woman's gaze fell on the black dragon. Black dragon? The black dragon did not reply. It was as if its acupuncture points had been hit. It stared blankly at the woman above it. So beautiful. The dragon chi on his body? The woman suddenly frowned. She looked at the lingering spirit chi on the black dragon's body. So he's a little dragon that just ascended from the lower realm. Forget it. She sighed and waved her hand. He must have broken in unintentionally. Let him go. But Supreme Divinity, according to the rules of the Dragon Abyss, Any dragon that enters has to be tested. The girl in green wanted to say something but was interrupted by the woman. She said sternly, I'm not one to force others to do something they don't want to do. Since he's unwilling, let him out of the dragon abyss. Without another word, the lava under her feet once again formed a fire dragon. She turned and flew in the direction of the hall at the foot of the volcano. Yes. The two girls bowed respectfully and waited until the red-clothed girl walked away. Only then did the two of them turn and glare at the black dragon fiercely, their faces filled with disdain. However, they did not continue to attack. Instead, they pointed at it and coldly said, "Humph, count yourself lucky." The girl in green took a step forward and kicked the black dragon's claw. Our supreme divinity is the dragon with the highest cultivation level in the dragon clan. Furthermore, he possesses the most noble bloodline of the ancient Azure dragon, and he is the dragon god of our race. You're just a mixed blood dragon from the lower realm. How dare you criticize the Divine Lord? That's right. As expected, there aren't any good dragons out there. You can't defeat the Divine Lord, so you only know how to talk behind the Divine Lord's back. This time, the Divine Lord has ordered us to let you go. If you dare to disrespect the Divine Lord again, we'll beat you up every time we see you. The two of them reprimanded the black dragon for a bit, but seeing that the black dragon didn't reply, they pointed to the right and said, "The way out is over there. Get out of the dragon abyss." After saying that, he turned around and flew away. The black dragon, on the other hand, was unusually well behaved. He didn't retort, let alone explode in anger. He just stared blankly in the direction the group had left in, as if he had been struck dumb. "Longworm, you're still alive. Longworm? Longworm." Shining called out a few times, but the black dragon didn't react at all. He continued to stare in the direction of the volcano, as if he was frozen in place. Shining walked to the side of the dragon's head and waved her hand in front of his eyes. "Wake up. You haven't been beaten silly, have you? Exalted goddess." The black dragon suddenly jumped up and transformed back into his human form. His eyes shone like light bulbs. "Tell me, if I agree to be her servant now, do I still have a chance?" F*** King Retard. Are you a freaking masochist? Exalted goddess, why don't we go to the Dragon Valley and ask around? I don't even know her name. Maybe she's... I'm not going. Shining rejected him instantly. Exalted goddess. The black dragon's entire body became listless. Tears welled up in his eyes as he hugged her leg. This is the first time I've met a girl I like. If I miss this chance, I might not get another chance in the future. Can you bear to let me not find a wife for the rest of my life? Of course I can. Did he have to be so direct? Exalted goddess, I'll go and ask around. If she doesn't accept, we'll come back immediately. The black dragon continued to persuade her. What's more, the dragon chi here is very thick. There should be many dragons here. It would be convenient for Exalted Goddess to ask around. I'm not going. It would be better to go back to the map. Exalted Goddess, just listen to me this once. One look and you can tell that the inside of the volcano is an important place for the dragon race. Although it looks scary on the outside, there's a whole new world inside. There might be all kinds of rare treasures and divine stones, strange flowers and fruits, rare delicacies and the like. Exalted Goddess, are you sure? Where's she? Exalted Goddess. Exalted Goddess? Why are you standing there like a fool? Let's go. Shining waved a hand in front of her. Why didn't you say so earlier that there was food to eat? The black dragon's mouth twitched. He quickly followed her. All right, Exalted Goddess, no problem, Exalted Goddess. Please go this way, Exalted Goddess. That's the way back. Oh. Shining turned around and walked in the direction of the volcano. As she walked, she muttered to herself, also, I was going to break up with you and look for Chef on my own. It looks like we still have to work together for a while. What? Nanny. What did he just hear? Break up? The Exalted Goddess was going to set him free? No. Exalted Goddess, listen to my explanation. It's not too late to break up now. Also, Longworm, why don't you change your clothes? Don't use your scales as clothes. It's fine if it's just your butt in the past, but now your entire lower body is naked. Won't you catch a cold? He could vaguely see a pillar of blood spurting out, which did not fall for a long time. At the top of the Ling Tai mountain, a white-haired elder stood beside a pool. A water mirror floated in front of him. He laughed softly and suddenly spoke. We haven't seen each other for 10,000 years. Why are you suddenly sending me a voice transmission? Asking about someone? A cold voice came from the water mirror in front of him. It sounded like a heavenly voice. The surface of the mirror rippled. A white-robed man's figure could be vaguely seen. The elder's smile deepened. "Who's so important? Thank you for asking personally." "A black dragon," the voice replied. "He probably just ascended recently." "Black dragon?" The elder thought for a moment. "I heard that a few days ago, a black dragon broke into the Lingtai mountain. It seems to be the one that destroyed my divine mystic stone not long ago. However, before the Dharma assembly began, he was sent to the dragon abyss for punishment by the gods who came to listen to the Dharma assembly. Could it be that you are friends with this dragon?" The person in the mirror frowned. "You don't have to worry. Others may not know, but you should know what that person in the dragon abyss is like. I'm sure he won't make things difficult for him." The elder comforted. "If you really have something urgent, I'll send someone to get him back." Chapter 244. No need. The person in the mirror replied. "We're just old acquaintances. I suddenly thought of asking." The image in the mirror started to fade and was about to disappear. "Wait." The old man seemed to recall something and hurriedly said, "You're not still at the 1,000-foot mountain, are you?" The person in the mirror did not reply. It was as if she was admitting it. "Ai, why do you have to do this?" The old man sighed. "I think that exalted God Shenyu is not lying to you. He really doesn't know. Why do you have to stay there and force him to tell you? Even if he really doesn't know." The person in the mirror lowered her voice as if she had been wronged. "She will definitely appear." "You." The old man was speechless. A moment later he shook his head. "Forget it. I hope you can really find the person you're looking for." The other party did not reply. The mirror slowly shook and turned into a stream of water that fell into the pool below. The old man stroked his beard and sighed again. "AI people at this age. Dragon Palace." The woman on the high seat looked at the messenger with some surprise. "Black dragon? Is it the little black dragon who just ascended to the divine underworld in the dragon abyss?" "Supreme divinity, it is indeed him. Didn't he say he was unwilling just now? Why is he here now?" Long Zhen frowned and a look of displeasure flashed across her face. "Is he afraid that I will blame him? Tell him that I will not make things difficult for him. I don't need a husband like him." "Yes." The maidservant was about to leave when another lady standing beside her stopped her. "Wait." The lady cupped her fists towards Long Zhen. "Supreme divinity. All these years we've tried all sorts of methods. No matter how high the cultivation of the dragon race was, we've all failed. Perhaps young master's matter has nothing to do with cultivation. This black dragon has just ascended. Perhaps we'll bump into him. There's no harm in trying, right? But he just ascended and he's a black dragon." Long Zhen hesitated. "Supreme divinity, we can wait, but young master can't." Her expression turned even more serious. A moment later, she sighed and turned to the maidservant. "Forget it. Let's try. Bring him to the dragon pool. I'll be there in a while." "Yes." Only then did the maid leave. He agreed. The black dragon couldn't believe his ears. This was the first time he had fallen in love with a girl. It was a pity that the start was not very good. He thought that the other party would definitely be angry with him, but it turned out that he was just trying his luck and begging the exalted deity to let him come. He didn't expect the other party to agree immediately. He wasn't dreaming, right? When he thought of that woman just now, ha. Although he was just a husband servant with no status, at least he had the opportunity to get close to her. Perhaps they would develop feelings over time and become official. Exalted goddess. Exalted goddess. He tugged at Xin Ying's sleeve excitedly. She agreed. "Did you hear that?" She agreed. Xin Ying, who was sitting in the living room, was pulled by him. She took a bite of the fruit in her hand, which she hadn't eaten for a long time. She held the plate full of fruit in her other hand tightly and moved it to the side. "Cherish food and stay away from the love brain." In the past, when he was a flood dragon, the other flood dragons said that it was very difficult to chase after a wife and that he had to be prepared to risk his life. Now, it seemed that it wasn't that difficult. He was indeed a special dragon. "Please follow me to the rising dragon pool. The supreme divinity wants to see you," the maidservant said. "So soon?" The black dragon was shocked. He didn't expect to see his sweetheart so soon. Good. He was about to ask Shining to get up when the maidservant added, The Supreme Divinity has something to ask you. She wants to see you alone. This. The Black Dragon hurriedly looked at Shining. He hesitated for a moment before saying tentatively, "Exalted Goddess, why don't you rest first and I'll be back soon?" Shining responded, still munching on her fruit seriously. "I'll be back soon." Seeing that she didn't object, the Black Dragon immediately followed the maidservant. Shining didn't mind. She hadn't eaten for a long time. She was so hungry. The fruit was a little sour. It wasn't as good as the ones from Invincible Sect. She kept feeling like she missed Chef. The maidservant led the Black Dragon straight in the direction of the rear hall. It was as if they had entered an isolated area, and the surrounding temperature was getting higher and higher. Even the dragon race could feel a trace of scorching heat. The maidservant only stopped when they reached a passageway and gestured for him to enter. The Black Dragon didn't mind. He thanked her politely, which was rare. Then he turned and walked into the passageway. The air was getting hotter and hotter. The deeper he went, the hotter it got. The Black Dragon couldn't help but feel confused. Why did the extremely beautiful Supreme Divinity ask him to come to a place like this? The next moment his eyes opened up. This seemed to be the center of a volcano. There was a pool of lava in front of him. From time to time, pillars of fire would shoot up from it. Long Zhen stood beside the pool of lava. Compared to her formal attire earlier, she was wearing a thin shirt. She looked even more exquisite. The Black Dragon took one look and felt his body stiffen. His heart seemed to be cursed. It was thumping non-stop. So beautiful. Suddenly, a hot current was about to burst out. He hurriedly tilted his head back to hold it in. He had a nosebleed. He had to leave a good impression on his future wife. That was what he thought, but he couldn't help but look at her. Speaking of which, he seemed to be here to be her servant. Then, it was normal for him to look at her a few more times. "You're here?" Long Zhen glanced at him. Her voice was still cold. Like before, she nodded and said, "Come here." "So fast." "Ha! Air." The Black Dragon froze. He tried to get rid of the messy images in his head. "I mean, you're looking for me?" The Black Dragon took a few steps closer to her. The more he looked, the faster his heart beat. His head was buzzing. "Yes." Long Zhen nodded. She still had that serious expression on her face. She scanned him from head to toe and asked, "I want to confirm with you again. Are you really willing to be my servant?" "Of course." He nodded vigorously. "Since that's the case." Long Zhen looked him up and down. A hint of worry flashed across her face. "There are some things I need to tell you first. Once you become my servant, you can't go back on your word. You also have to stay in the Dragon Abyss. You can't leave without permission." The Black Dragon suddenly had the urge to smooth her brows. He subconsciously replied, "Okay. I will teach you a special cultivation technique. You have to practice it with me. You can't slack off. Are you willing?" "Yes." "This cultivation technique is special. You have to practice it for at least 2 hours every day without stopping. Can you endure it?" "Yes." "You can't be too far away from me when you practice it. You also have to change back to your original form." "I'll listen to you." "In that case." She seemed to heave a sigh of relief. She scanned him from head to toe. "Take off your clothes." "Okay." A while later, "What?" "You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.